we live now. Let's see. Not sure if anybody's in here yet. Doesn't seem like it, but there were people waiting for the stream to start. So there might be 4Zs and 2Zs in here. Let's see.
We're getting a nice little pump out of this dump, bro.
Oh, it's gonna be phenomenal. Right now. It's gonna be phenomenal. It's gonna be phenomenal. Like the thing about it is I didn't understand T-shares, and the more I look into T-shares, the more I'm realizing that was my downfall from the jump, because the T-shares really are the key, but it's not that straightforward, right? Because you have to understand what the role of the T-share is. Now let me share this link so I can get the folks, the good Hexing community over here. A friend of mine just told me right now, a guy I used to work with, that he was able to onboard a couple guys a day with my videos. I mean, that's crazy because I didn't anticipate that.
Yeah, that's gonna be a common thing, I think, going forward.
Right, because we're just talking numbers, man. It's not, all of this other funny stuff like these other people are talking about. Give me a second just so I can send the original. Oh, I mean, dude, you know what's funny? Like I like to say all the time, I've only owned a few coins consistently, right? And again, for people like us that have been around from the beginning, there's a very good reason for that. And the fact of the matter is, it isn't a lot of people like us talking publicly about cryptos or anything like that. So it's important, that people like us do, whether we remain anonymous or not, shouldn't even matter. Like that really isn't an issue. That's really only an issue. And I mean, that's something I want to talk about too, because people are under this assumption that because you're public, that you're being open or some magical nonsense that I never heard of before, because it's not the case, right? And I mean, people that have worked in security, such as yourself, or just any type of professional environment, is well aware that anybody can lie about their identity at any point in time. So being public doesn't mean anything. Hell, matter of fact, let's talk about Milli Vanilli. Remember them? Are you old enough to remember them?
I got no idea what you're talking about. Please school me on this so I can get an update.
Exactly. So Milli Vanilli was this famous pop group from the early 90s. Give me a second.
How's my do I have any feedback coming through? Are we good?
No, everything is actually good. Everything is actually good. Okay. The sound sounds good. Everything is good. We got people in the chat. The chat is lively. What's going on, guys? Thank you for joining us. Yeah, thank you for joining us, guys.
Read some of this stuff. Fucking Valier, bro. What's up?
Yeah, we got all the homies always join. Yeah, like the Hexing community is very cool. You'll see if you go to video or stream to stream, that usually the same group of guys are there, guys and girls. Very supportive community. I mean, that's the funny thing. Like, I know you've been around from the early days, so we can start by talking about just talking about like
yeah, man. So we tried going live earlier, and we ended up talking for a while.
Yeah.
Stuff, so.
Let's do the what do they call it?
Recap, right?
Yeah, the recap. Let's do first of all, this is Wales only. We had some technical difficulties from the jump, because I really do suck at this technical stuff. I'm good at everything else, but when it comes to streaming, I'm no bueno. So I'm here with HEX.LIVE, the gentleman that got me to go public and basically figure out all this HEX stuff. Okay, that's cool. Discourse Syndicate is about to go live in 15 minutes. That's fine. Yeah, I mean, they don't talk about what we talk about, so that's fine.
We could pretty much drop it all in 15, to be honest.
I mean,
it's really a simple system, man. It
is simple. Know what's funny? It is that simple. That's the funny thing, right?
Yeah.
Right. But here's the thing, right?
It's a unique thing, right? But once it clicks, I think more non-crypto people get it faster.
Yes, correct. Because and this is the thing, right? This is why I wanted to talk about the early days. And this is kind of why I wanted you to come on to talk with me about the early days, because there's not a lot of people involved in crypto today that were around from that point in time. You know what I mean? Thanks,
Well, I'm
thanks
not
for
as
that
OG
one.
as you, but I've paid my dues, so to speak. You know,
Well, so
those.
let's talk about that. What's your talk a little bit about your background?
Yeah,
How long have you been in the crypto industry? What brought you here? All of that good stuff.
yeah, man. Well, I got kind of an interesting story. So, I have a I had a friend who was one of those really technical guys. He was actually an engineer at a ISP here in where I'm from, and he was always like kind of on the edge of stuff. And I'm sure he knew about Bitcoin way before I knew about Bitcoin. But
Right,
and it was right around that break of that $1,000 all time high, which started like the 20K bull run for that fall of 2017.
right,
I got in right up there, got into it. It was like a really unique experience. We were sat down at his kitchen table, and he started talking to me about this digital currency that you could like print off your computer, and then all these legalities came to mind. Like, oh my god, like wouldn't the Federal Reserve have an issue if you
naturally.
could print your own money? Like
Right,
naturally, I was a little bit skeptical of that aspect of it, but I knew as soon as he said that there was like a production to it and mining, that was like I was like starting to connect these dots between, well, what if you took a bunch of miners and you put them in a building and you got solar power or some other close to free energy source and you just mined for free, then you've like literally like broken out of the matrix and you've escaped, you know, the slave like kind of
well, the
mentality
trap.
of the capitalism, right?
Yeah. Well,
And so
you
I
know
was like,
what?
well, this literally
So
throws a
hold
wrench
on.
in their whole plan, right?
Right. But hold on, because here's the thing. It's very important to understand that it's not capitalism per se, but the system within which we are given, right? Like, it's very important to be clear with what the framework is, because of the thing about
No,
it,
no, no,
and the
not
reason.
capitalism, the free market, right? But capitalism in the sense of class and like
Right.
and I'm
That's
not.
that's exactly. But that's why I
Here's the
wanted to
fine
stop
line,
you there, because it's not like you're wrong. You're not wrong. It's just about the words that you're using, because they're very important. Because people
right?
don't want to. You don't want people to think the wrong thing. That's why I'm
Right.
very deliberate, right? And I know what you're saying. It's just for the people that are listening that might not get what you're saying. We have to be clear,
Well,
very,
see,
very
here's okay. So here's the beauty of blockchain and why
clear.
it's important and why I got into it in the first place is because what it does is it allows people to see money from a perspective that they've never really been able to see money, by and for, right? We got to
Great point.
understand as this grassroots movement, people that started with crypto and kind of built it up to what it is today, kind of like created this new like thought, like a new level of consciousness on money, right? That is now, I would say generally that people born like millennial generation and forward, probably maybe even a little bit above us, didn't really consider like money or jobs as like an important thing at a
Right,
time, right? And then we figured
right,
out pretty quickly that that wasn't going to work in the real world, but we didn't necessarily agree with like the way the system was set up. You were kind of just like, you from water to land, right? You were born onto the earth and you're signed off on this birth certificate, right? And then you're part of the
right,
system where you become a corporatized thing, but really you're a human soul and you're having this human experience. And so I think that what this money does, sitting on the edge between, uh, it's like a paradox kind of. It's like a free open source money, right? So I think what that does is it
right,
allows a lot more possibilities, almost infinite in amount, and it literally is going to shift our civilization into a new state of being on the promise that none of these monies can be manipulated like in the past where you create this huge class divide. What will divide people is their own drive to pursue financial freedom. you know
yeah,
the
for
old
sure.
saying goes like, like money is the root of all evil. I don't think that at all. I think money is a tool and it's how you use the tool. But when the tools get better, the process gets better and the products get better. So like
Right.
the
That's a
communication
good
barriers have been
statement.
completely broken down.
Right.
Yeah,
Entirely,
yeah.
entirely. I mean, and you say that just the whole notion, right, of what money is has been lost. Just and the question isn't even like when. It's just like how. right? Because the how is why we are where we are today. And that's why I harp so much on the math. And that's why I try to make the streams that I provide, I try to make them at least relevant from that perspective, at least in the sense that you're trying to learn and understand what it is that you're doing here, right? Because people don't come to crypto to, like, I don't know about you guys, but I don't come to crypto to chill. I come to crypto to make money. I can chill in my crib in my house doing nothing. I don't need to be on a stream to chill. So my whole objective is to provide informative, just quality information, right? Because it's so easy, just like you said, it's so easy to just jump into anything. Literally, anything is
Right.
money, right? And that's kind of the thing, right? Like, we're accustomed to not even understanding what money is, and then here comes this big thing called crypto. Nobody understands it. Nobody has a clue what it is, but yet everybody has an opinion on it. Everybody has a determination for it, right? Like, it's all of these things and it's none of those things at the same time, right? So
Yeah, man.
it's an interesting point in
I'll tell you what
time.
it is at the most core level is, and what you've nailed like over and over again. It's that it's all math and physics. That's all it is. I mean, because what these things are is they're not an AI that can think and make complex decisions, but what they are is like an autonomous being, like something that lives and 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 kind of like a mycelium. It grows out like a network grows out, and the way it does that is it actually has its own code or DNA built in it that actually becomes friends with humans, and humans are incentivized by the profit structure to procreate like more nodes of Bitcoin, and then from there stems every altcoin. It's a system that once started and the go button got hit, it just
Impossible to stop it.
duplicates and multiplies, but it
Yeah,
doesn't
it's
multiply
impossible to stop.
linearly. It multiplies by fractals, and it just goes out
Right,
like infinitely faster and farther. And what Hex
right.
does is that it commoditizes that ability through time locking, and it allows that process to, it's almost like a little petri dish that can like, you can like put something in there, like a chemical in there that makes it grow faster, for example. And so, but this
Right.
thing has special properties that makes it more valuable for the long term, while also in the same whole system gives you a unit of account. And
Right.
the interplay between that is where the game theory comes in, and it allows you to like have this deep complex, it's almost like a chessboard. Like I predict in the future that we'll see whales jump in here and set like large stakes within like let's say a 3-week period, and they'll let the one slip to 14 days, and they'll let the other one go there 14 days, and then they'll close them all at once in a certain situation where they can ratchet up price against another player, and there will be these whale battles of T-share price, trying to price each other out on T-shares before
Right.
we get to the B shares, or like the epochs will be set in different ways by the participants, and that's kind of the amazing thing about this system.
Right. And it's funny because you kind of are already seeing that in some respects, right? Like, we've seen some pretty sizable stakes end lately. And, like, for example, there was a sizable stake today that was ended. I think it might have been like a 30-day stake, and it was at least 8 or 9 figures in terms of hex. And the dude reached like and this was from the Whale Hex bot. Shout out to whoever created that. Um, and the bot immediately later came. I mean, it must have been like 5 minutes later, and they came back with like the equivalent amount of hex. And you can tell it was plus some interest. I don't remember what the interest figure was, but long story short, the guy ended his stake, took his interest, restaked it for longer because it was a 30-day stake, and then he think he bumped it up to like 300 days or something like that. I can't remember, but it was definitely,
286 days. I saw it today. I
yeah, it
think
was
it was.
something like that. 290 days. Okay, there you go. It was definitely something like that, and that was and that's like the whole point, right? Like, you already are seeing this in Hex already. I mean, it's
Yeah.
crazy
Yeah.
because it's
And the low
like
liquidity makes those moves more apparent. So it's almost like a cheat code where we
yeah.
get to see clearer moves and clearer decisions being made in the chart.
Yes, yes, in
So it's
real
like
time.
take your because this system is built on length of time invested. The importance of knowing the moves now is like so much better for long term outlook. It'll be easier to just see I mean, the more volume you get in a chart, the more you're relying on mass consciousness to make like coordinated moves. But with small charts like this, where there's just few participants, like it's important that we see that data that Silver was like putting together, where you could see, you could cross-reference like different wallet addresses with how much is in them, and then look at the chart and kind of see what that looked like, and see if certain people like to draw certain patterns. I've always thought that that was very interesting on the lower time frames.
Right, right.
Um,
So it's important you mention that, right? Because you know, as we sit here and we look and we talk about something like a network, right? That's starting from scratch and growing, right? We have to like kind of understand that when we're looking at time as a factor, looking at a microscopic point in time, looking at one player is kind of a exercise in futility, if you get what I mean. Because what you're doing is you're trying to
100%.
stand inside the forest. You're trying to stand inside the forest, and you're trying to determine, right, what's going to happen in the next, not just really the next 20 minutes, right, but the next year or the next however long based on one transaction. So I think it's important that people understand that that's not really like a tool for success. Like that, that's not going to give you any real valuable insight.
That's
Now,
the beauty of the staking, right?
right. Now, that's exactly what I was going to go to next. Because the only time that adds value is if you're looking at a sizable player and not only did they buy, but they actually bought and staked, right? And that's something that you can't really see elsewhere in the same fashion that you can in Hex, right? Like if somebody was buying Bitcoin and they were holding it, that was just that. You would just see their wallet, and that would just be, you know, the amount of Bitcoin in their wallet, and that would just be it. End of discussion. So then you have to consider, right, how Hex and it's with its staking function, right? Because here's the thing: every staking function is not the same, right? So we're not here to talk about you know, anything hyperbolic. We're just here to talk about the facts and how the system works. So when we're talking about the Hex staking function relative to the rest of the DeFi space, you know, it's literally like a one-arm situation. Like it's straightforward. Like you take your Ethereum, you go to the go.hex.com site where you would go to stake your coins, or whatever other backup site that exists, right? There's several for Hex that you can go to for backup, that where if go.hex.com isn't working for you, you can reach that site and it can actually give you some access to staking functionality if need be, if you don't have the full access to the Staker app. But on top of that, right, like what does staking mean? That has a very specific connotation with respect to Hex, right? Like it's a very important thing that, like, we talk about it all the time, but we don't really ever give it any serious consideration, right, with respect to what that actually means. Like, people are saying, I'm going to take X amount of Hex dollars, whatever you want, and they're going to put it on this stake for X period of time, and that's it. Right? Now, think about the early Bitcoin days, or not even the early Bitcoin days. We don't even have to go back that far. That's what's crazy. Think about what do you call it? Think about a couple of years ago. Think about 2016. Nobody was going to be willing to do that, right? Like the quantity of people that would be willing to put money in a time lock in crypto back then was almost zero. Like people like, it's one thing to buy and hold a coin. It was another, like, staking at that point in time was not what it is today. It
Well,
just was
yeah,
not.
there was an evolution, right? We started with
Correct.
things like master nodes and for like Dash and whatnot, and there was like
Right.
an incentive structure to build the network on top of it, right? And then we
Correct.
went to the staking coins, and then we got
Mm-hmm.
this time lock thing. This is like a Gen 3
Right.
staking thing.
Right.
As like again, as a whole system, and that's a key component to like what makes it so valuable, is it how it's immutable.
Right. Right. And that's the thing, right? Like, when you sit here and you look at the space now, 2 years on, right? Because if you look at the timeline, a lot of the DeFi space, while it started, so to speak, in 2017, it didn't really take off, until 2019.
Right. Well, here's the reason why, brother. It's because things like Dash didn't have the price support that the HEX system is going to be able to give stakers, to give them that security that you keep talking about.
Right.
So
Right. Now,
the security is a function of the product.
Right.
Whereas back then it was like a technical thing.
No. Keep going, because I want to keep talking about the security aspect of cryptocurrencies. That's kind of where I want to go down now, if you don't mind. So definitely keep talking about that, because it's very important.
Well, yeah, I mean, because there's two types. When you say security, there's two types, right? There's like the security of investment, and then there's like the security on a technical level of your keys, right? And they're both important. But the security coming from your investment, like I really don't think that there's been a incentive structure that really works, that's going to catch virality like the way HEX will, because of the simplicity of it. Once you've done like 1 or 2 stakes, I mean, usually people figure it out pretty quick.
Right.
It's just like I would, and I mean, I don't mean to get too off track, but I would love to see a HEX website with all of the great things in the community come together and coalesce into this this hub ecosystem where every single function that's available on the HEX smart contract is available there and more, maybe on like a layer 2, and it's all built into this like profile structure.
Right.
And I mean, that might be shooting for the stars. Think about it. Everything trades against HEX. It's an underlying on this. It's like a decentralized. It's a DEX. It's all built into a website, and we all, I mean, my gosh, you could have social pages on there. We could all stream through there, have profiles. I mean, it could be pretty lit, but that's something that when you're not trading 24/7 100x leverage, getting wrecked, you can go, you can, now you can think about something all this extra time. You can have the chart going in the background for fun and be doing stuff, building stuff out, which is one of the things that this community does so well, is they catch inspiration from the system, because the system, like Richard always says, is so deep that he finds himself in awe of the system at times, where he even has these epiphanies about it. And I know that I have them regularly. The technology hasn't existed, and it changes the synapses between your brain and makes your thought. It literally is a psychoactive experience. Using HEX for the first few times, and as the appreciations come, this is what this is going to do to the world, man. Like, every single staking coin is going to try and copy HEX's game theory, because they're going to try to build that on top of their utility.
Correct.
And that is my only concern. And with when you're talking security on HEX, is that a utility coin does HEX's game theory better than HEX plus. And that's the straight truth. You want to hear the truth? That's the truth. But I'm still staked out for 15 years, and I have been, and I will.
Now let's talk about that, because that's important. Now, why is that? Why is a token of the caliber that you spoke of more secure than
use ETH as an example, or Cardano, right? If they were to use some sort of incentive structure that was like HEX, it would give HEX less of a reason to exist, except for the fact that it was first mover and will have way more mass, because it's the physics of math, and it's just like it's already been set in motion. It can't be unset in motion, and it's got too much momentum behind it.
Right.
So it's similar. Is, one of those other
go ahead.
At a time. They won't be able to.
Right.
I don't think they'll be able to. Why do you think?
Yeah. So it's like, it's exactly right. So it's like similar to saying, how can something outpace Bitcoin? Is that right?
Because it mints rewards for people who are dedicated.
Right, and that's the whole point, right? And that's exactly what I'm saying. Like, you have a system that, while it might not be secure from a coin aspect, it's important to recognize that when you're staking your coins, right, what ends up happening is that they disappear, right? So when you stake them, there actually is zero, risk at that point, because now they no longer exist. You see? So you're evading.
You want to put up a funky chart while we're talking about this?
Let's go. Who?
You want to just put up the HEX chart while we're talking about this?
Oh yeah, sure. Because what I'm showing right now is just like the first slide that I was gonna go through, but we can definitely go to.
Just thinking we should jam and check this chart out. Let's look. I think this thing's gonna be fun here tonight. Hopefully,
So you know what? Let's
unless we got more
yeah,
dumpage.
let me pull up a Uniswap chart actually. Yeah, let's pull up one of those bad boys because those are the ones we want to see. Just while we talk it out before we actually get to the slide.
I'll be here a while. I don't have to work in the morning, so we're good.
So it looks like okay. So it looks like we're going to. Looks like we're going to take a nice little pause, which is okay, or maybe not. Never mind. Okay. Never mind. Maybe not. All right. Um okay, so the security aspect of Hex, right? So let's talk about this. What happens when you are staking your coin? Is it not the case that when you're staking your coin, you're essentially making your stash, your funds, your bank account, your whatever you want to call it, right? Your money, you're making it disappear, right? So essentially, it's not there to be attacked. It's not there to be hacked. It's missing in action. Is that not the correct aspect once a stake is entered?
Well, they're burned, but they're there theoretically, right?
Right,
As long as you
theoretically.
can, as long as you stay through the committed stake, right? But
Right,
here's the thing: is when you don't commit to the stake, you pay everybody who stays committed.
right. So that's the important thing I want to harp on, right? Because this is kind of where I'm trying to take the conversation. It seems like other coins are more secure than Hex on a surface level, right? From the surface level. But as we wrestle through the game theory of the coin and we talk about what actually happens if a hacker comes into the system and actually hacks it, right? Like, does that something actually happen? Doesn't sound like it. Because it seems like every which way we go, we run into a wall. Does
Well,
it
yeah, but
not?
there would only be, look at, you're talking about surface area of an attack, right? Well,
Right.
there's only one
Got to
point of
start
surface area
somewhere.
of attack.
We got to start somewhere. We got to start somewhere, right? It's got to be at the surface, unless it's an inside job.
Well, it's it's at the level where your private keys are. That's where you can be attacked from at a security
Right.
level. So
Right.
unless you are really good with your security, personally, you're going to be attacked. But if everything stays within the Hex contract, there's no middleman. It's you and
Precisely.
you.
Precisely.
There's
And
some
that's
button presses
kind of
between you and your money.
correct. And that's and that's why I keep pushing on the security issue and where we're going and what's actually happening when a contract is staked or when a stake happens. Like, these are all aspects of the Hex contract and just the crypto space in general, right? That I think people don't speak enough about. And that's why I'm like, well, let me ask a guy that I know that knows about it, because I know a little bit about it, but maybe not as much as you, not in the same detail. So I'm aware that when you stake something, that's it, it's gone, right? And in order for that stake to be ended, the price for that is typically in the form of a emergency end stake. Now, the bad actor is not going to necessarily know, right, that that might be the end result, right? So if somebody does happen to put themselves in a position where they're taking a loss of that magnitude, right, where their keys are getting hacked, right, and let's say they're 100% staked, right, the fact of the matter is that the person that's about to do you some harm is about to do themselves even more harm, because they're not about to get away with what they thought they were about to get away with,
You
right?
hacking me, bro?
So oh, so somebody
I'm
in the
playing
back.
with you, bro. I'm playing with you, bro.
Oh,
You hacking me,
got
bro?
you. Got you. But yeah, but that's the thing, right? It's like when you sit there and you break down Hex, right? It's a scary thing. It's a scary thing because when you sit there and you look at all of the angles, there's not many. There's really not many to break down that are just inconsequential. You get what I'm trying to tell you? Like we're sitting here talking about staking, right? Now, when we sit here and talk about staking and other aspects, because here's the thing, I want to eventually break down the whole DeFi space, right? Because here's the thing, you know, people are under this misconception that staking in general is just some high yielding event, and it's actually not, right? Like if you look at other yield farming or pools or just liquidity pools of any variety, right? They're really not high yielding at all. What it is that the rate changes, and what you end up seeing in the promos are just snippets of those high yielding and, you know, instances in time, right? Because the thing is that what is the pricing mechanism for those protocols? It's typically supply and demand. So that means that those rates are going to be variable. And with that, right, well, what that ultimately ends up becoming is it ends up becoming a situation where if you're not there and ready to stake prior to, by the time you find out about it, you'd have missed the move. Right. And
That's a
that's
really
kind
good
of,
point.
yeah, and that's kind of like the technical thing that, you know, if you're not, right, if you're not a trader or something like that from like a big picture perspective, you're going to miss that, right? And that's kind of like why I like to highlight all of these things, because it seemed at first like if we were going to talk about nothing, right, like a whole nothing burger. But as we walk into one space versus the other, it's not particularly the case, right? Because the thing about it is when you're dealing with other protocols, you're dealing with middlemen, you're dealing with intermediaries, right? Which is kind of the antithesis of crypto in the first place. So that's why it's always lost on me, and that's why I always like to bring it up and talk about it, because you know there's so much negative talk about what hex is and what hex is not, and you know there's just not a lot going on around with respect to the facts. So I like to make sure that I at least talk about that, because you know my streams always run long, so I like to make sure that I touch on the important aspects. And the thing is, I've just never really had the ability to touch on the security aspect of hex, and you know it really is almost foolproof, right? Because the fact of the matter is that you have to be the person to literally give it up.
Right.
Like
Yeah, that's
that's
it,
very
man.
important.
And I'm pretty sure there's a way, like, I know a lot of people started on MetaMask, but I think there's a way that you can
Mhm.
take your private key from your MetaMask account, put it on a hardware wallet, which I think is super useful.
Oh wow, look at that.
And I think there's actually a thing on the hex.com about it under security.
Yeah, well, there
Um,
you go. I mean
so if you
that's
got these
definitely
long
a
stakes,
reference point.
man, make sure you lock those keys up.
Yeah, lock them up. I mean, here's the thing, right? Everybody wants to replicate, and this is why I love talking about it, because that's why we're here. Everybody loves to replicate, or everybody wants to say they want to replicate. Um, you know, buying Bitcoin in 2010, 9, and never selling it. Everybody likes to
Yeah,
say that. You know,
yeah,
nobody really likes to talk about what it takes, and that's why I'm here, because that's all I want to talk about, because that's exactly what I'm going to do with my hex. Like, if that's not your plan, I don't know why you're here. Like,
yeah. I mean,
yeah, like I
there's
don't
no
know why
reason
you're
to
here.
be in the system without staking, right? I don't.
Right. Yeah, I mean,
Actually, let me take that back. Let me take that back. Guess what? I've been having a change of heart on that a little bit, and I actually think
mm,
in these early stages that it's actually going to be better to have some liquid, not all of it, but like maybe 20% of your stack
mhm,
liquid.
mhm.
Because
So,
if you do get a 10x pump, might as well take some off the top and buy it back lower. You know?
well, yes, yes, but here's the thing. I don't disagree with that at all, right? Now, the thing about it is, it's about having the right frame of thoughts for the big picture, right? That's what it's all about. Because again, we are here to make money. Very important that we focus on that, because that is why we're here. But at the same time, I think it's important to hone in on the fact that we're not going to just, you know what I mean, just run up on on 10 years and not cash in on anything, right? Like that's just not going to happen. Of course not. Especially for the majority of us Hexicans that have been in from the jump when the price was essentially zero for a year, right? That's not going to be the case. I know I'm going to cash some in if it hits 10. I'd be a fool not to. But some, right? Not all of
Yeah.
it.
I think Big Pep says it best. He's always like, I can't go out here killing the golden goose. So
Yeah,
yeah, I think
exactly.
you got to keep that principle and working for you. So
That's exactly right. But that's exactly right, right? I mean, that's exactly it. You can't, and I mean, that's the thing, right? Like, there's so many people that stream about Hex, and there's so many of us saying kind of the same thing, but it's like there's so many different ways you could say the same thing, right?
right, that goes again
And
to the depth and the richness of this new
right,
technology, this new system, right?
correct,
This hybrid
correct,
system. It's
correct.
something else.
It is something else. And I mean, and that's why, I really want to talk about the security aspect. I love talking about it because the reality is that Hex is probably the most secure strip of code out there, right?
Mm.
Like, isn't it removed by consensus somehow, that segregating functionality for code?
I'm not a coder, but I can tell you
You know,
that
okay,
I
okay,
trust
okay.
Dev Kyle. I
No,
trust him
well,
with that.
right, yeah, yeah, that's fine,
I've
that's
listened
fine.
to his words on the contract and everything, and it's
Yeah.
pretty impressive.
So here's the thing.
I mean, it's been
Um,
double. Here's the most important thing, right?
mhm.
It's been audited 3 times.
Well, right, right.
The
But here's
code's
the
been
thing.
audited twice. Yeah,
Yeah, but
and the economics
here's
audit.
the
That's
thing.
like,
Yeah, go ahead. I'm sorry. Go ahead. Go ahead.
well, I mean, I was just gonna say that it hits 2 levels, right? Because like, okay, so the physical level of the code has been verified twice, but by independent parties. But they
Hmm.
figured it out. The devs figured it out way before those independent people verified it.
Right. Of course. Of course.
So you get that side, right? But I don't think any other crypto really took like the financial world seriously, and that was kind of like the disconnect between the legacy financial world and cryptocurrency as a utility, right?
Right.
And the fact that this system holds every user to this professional standard, and if they don't, I mean, it's built in. Like you have to behave well, or or the system will punish you in a way that you won't want to come back unless you
Right.
bring back a 10x stack to purchase more. Right? It's like
Right.
it's pretty beautiful that way. So
Yeah.
it protects people that are in earlier. It's what it does, and we protect each other by supporting price, by not selling, by making interest. Right? Those
Correct.
T shares into the future is the most amazing thing because I mean I know this. I mean I predict B shares will be here before people can predict. Like I think the T share era will be very short lived. The B share era will be longer, and then the million shares will be probably longer than that, right? As that
Yeah.
deflationary curve peels off and starts to flatten or whatever. But these first 3 or 4 years are just going to be completely insane. I The interest, right? And like, look at
Yeah.
if our APYs go down, coin price goes up. And if the coin price goes down, our APYs will be up because people are reactive. Humans are reactive, so they're going to pull out their money when the price is going down. They won't understand. This first wave of investors, when it goes viral, will not get the system, and we will benefit for being in longer than them from the beginning. The
Yep.
T shares are extra valuable in the earlier years that way, just through the lack of knowledge. But that's kind of why some good actors have come on and streamed is because they want people to make the right decisions early. Because I generally don't think Hexicans are like really negative people that way. I think everybody
Doesn't
kind
seem
of
to
wants to
be the
help each
case.
other. At least the guys that are
Yeah.
public about it, trying to
Yeah.
put charts out or trying to, give theory on it, or I don't know. There's all kinds of people building code around a Staker app like HEX.VISION. Like the list goes on and on and on about like how deep and far penetrating this thing is.
Right. Right. I
Gets
mean,
said all the time, but you can't overstate it though.
no, you can't. And that's the thing, right? Like, people have seen me do things live and just be like, wow, live on TV, right? Or not on TV, but on YouTube, whatever. You get the point. Like, I'm sitting
I
here
mean, yes, we are
analyzing the
high on gains.
system. Yeah, I mean, we're definitely high
It's
on
not going to
gains.
stop either, by the way, bro. This stuff's still going to keep going
No, I mean,
because
this is the
we're
thing,
in a
bro.
all season phase right now. These things have been going like Cardano. I got to just say it. Cardano, RSR. These things are just like going nuts. And I
Right.
mean, Hex is 10 times better fundamentally. So like, it's
But
going to
hold
pop.
on. Let's talk about that. Let's talk about that, right? Because people are, you'll have some people that are upset because Hex isn't following the crowd,
Oh,
right?
correlation. Great. This is a good topic.
Right. Yes, it's a very good. And here's the thing: we got some charts, and we're gonna get to all the goodies, right? And I just want to highlight, because we're gonna get to this chart later, and we're gonna talk about every single chart. And this is why I don't want to harp on it too much right now, because this stream is basically about just hex, and all the technical aspects of it and what the charts say in detail, because everybody likes to look at the charts, but I've never really, sat here and explained them. And I think it'd be important to do that, because you guys, like, again, my mission isn't just to you know talk math. Like, that's cool, but I want everybody to really understand that the math is not only simple, it is relatable. It is something that we can all understand. It isn't something that I'm some genius and figured out, because I'm not. I just want to highlight that I'm really not. I'm just some regular dude, just figured the shit out because I had nothing else to do for a long ass time. That's literally all it is. So I'm just here to share the information and, let everybody know it's not some magical trick. Like, anybody can do this. So, that's all it is, because at the end of the day, we all want to be better off, right? It's all about just finding that flicker of energy to get us moving in the right direction. That's really all it is for a lot of cases. So that's kind of why I'm here. That's why I talk. That's why I like to bring people on and talk about the things that I do. Everybody always has a lot of, like, weird questions, like chemo spaz. Like, I answered your question yesterday about $10 and all of that. Don't come up in here talking about $50 in 2022. You already see what it's doing. So, just enjoy the ride. Don't worry about price. It's not relevant. We already gave you guys the front run of what's gonna happen. You guys are seeing how Hex is behaving relative to markets that are being dumped. Very important to note. Very, very important to note. So we got to keep some stuff like that in mind, right? So I just want to look at a question that Limon Ortega asked earlier. It was answered in the stream, but let's talk about that for a little bit, because there's T shares, there's B shares, there's M shares, there's even P shares, right, for Pika. And those letters really just stand for whatever the prefix is with respect to the quantity of shares, right? And just like you have gigabyte, terabyte, megabyte, kilobyte, you're gonna have pico T shares, pico shares, P shares, tera shares, T shares, billion shares, B shares, and so on and so forth. So it's the same concept, just with respect to T shares. And correct me if I'm wrong, HEX.LIVE, because I'm still really learning the system. I hope to be a
Yeah, I was just gonna add
professional.
that.
Go
I was
ahead.
just gonna add the trillion shares, like it's just so when Richard designed the system, he designed it in a way that would lean toward it would lean on unit bias, so that when the thing takes root and more people are using it, that like what is a trillion shares a day will be completely out of reach. That would have been a gift that we got for having faith
Correct.
in something early,
Day one. Day one.
and that those are just like they're like fairy tale stuff in the year
30.
2035. Sorry, yeah,
Yeah.
2035. Like the trillion shares will be like nobody on planet Earth would be able to even get one of those probably at that point.
Right.
Um, but it's just like then billion shares would just it's what, how many decimal places over? 3. So
Yeah.
it's like 100. Yeah, you just go down 3 decimal places into that next slot, and then that's your next level down, and then whatever.
Yeah.
999 B shares would be one off of a T share, you know, down the
Right.
scale.
Right. Right. Right.
It's just a unit of measurement. So, like, it'll be like really quick until we get into like a million shares, So
Right.
that'll be like probably
And
like 5 to 10 years or something. I mean, it's just
I
here's
mean,
the thing is like it's all relative, right?
yeah.
As the T shares get harder to obtain and they get deflationary, they get closer to 1. And as hex gets more expensive, it goes up indefinitely to higher
Right.
valuations until theoretically one hex would be $1 trillion, right? Theoretically,
Right.
that's what he's
Right.
trying to say, is that on one side of the equation you got one T share equals um, one hex, and then you flip it, and then 1 trillion hex would be one T share. Over time, it's like a crisscross, like an X.
Right.
They'll play against each other.
Yep.
Um,
Yep.
yeah, and then all the variable in between would be all like the human decision making, right?
Yeah. And the game theory in the system takes care of all of that. That's the beautiful part.
So yeah, again, simply put, it's just a unit of account. So right now, you get trillion shares, you're going to be a very happy man in a few years.
Right. And I mean, and that's the thing, right? Like, so let's talk about the system just from a high level, just the T shares, just from a high level, because like it's never explained this way, but this is the way it should be explained. And Dev, Kyle Dev does explain it like this somewhat, but again, I have the financial background, so I can wrap it in a nice bow and make it very pretty. So the T share rate mechanism, right, is really a pricing function, right? And this is the thing that this is the thing that gives Hex its gold status, right? And if you do not understand T shares, you do not understand why Hex is actually the only thing that's valuable, right? And again, it's not about it's not about how do I say this? It's really not about like hyping the train, right? It's about like trying to elaborate and explain correctly like what the value proposition is here.
Yeah.
And now we're talking about trillion shares, people, right? We're talking about trillions of shares, right? And now again, it's trillions of shares today because that is how many shares are outstanding. Because over time, as Hex continues to ratchet higher, because over time, what's going to happen is, as Axis just alluded to, the quantity. Well, it's not even the quantity. I'm sorry. The as I stated earlier, the
Availability
pricing. Yeah. No. It's not the availability. It's actually the pricing
of
mechanism
T-shares.
of
Right, it is,
T-shares.
but the consequences, right? So the price the price of the T-shares, yes. Consequences that they're less available, right?
No, they're harder to get. It's not that they're
Right.
less available. It's different. Because it's not a function of scarcity in the sense that there's no supply. It's a function of scarcity in that they're extremely valuable. It's a different perspective.
Right.
Think about it.
They're
No,
valuable
go ahead.
because if you want more of them, you have to
It
pay for
costs you
so
more.
much more hex,
Exactly.
but
It
that's going to
costs you
push the
more.
price up. So
Right.
like it's not going to so that's the beauty of like how the chart will flow over time, right? Because
Correct.
it's
I
going
mean,
to be it's
hold
incentivizing and
on. It's not
de-incentivizing.
even over time. It's already now. It's already now,
Right.
right? Because if we pull up the chart and we go to a weekly chart, that's what we're seeing. Right? Like that's what we're seeing. It's just a straight shot up. So it's not even like, it's not what it's gonna be. That's what it is. So,
Dude, I can't
you
even
know
believe
what
a
I mean?
T-shirt used to be 60 cents, man. It just blows my mind.
Dude, as I was
Blows
working on
my
this
mind.
little as I was working on this little slide presentation today, I really, really got a good insight into how little I understood T-shirts before that. Because I looked at that and I'm looking at it now and I'm just like, wow, people just don't understand where this is about to go. Because the T-shares are really the main separator, right, between today and tomorrow. Like the T-shares are literally replicating the time value of money function, right? And now the thing about it is that here there is no variability, right? It's actually monotonicity. Now what that means is that it's only going in one direction. That's what that means. Now, the T shares only go up in value. And the reason for that is because anytime a stake ends, that T share value is repriced to reflect all of the time, all of the compounding, everything that went into that stake from the day it was created. And this is why the T share rate goes up every time a stake is ended. It's basically doing all of the math at the end once you press end stake. And once you press end stake, it does all of the compounding It does all of the minting basically. Once all of the minting is done, that's what's happening right then and there. So, and this is why the value of the T-share goes up, because what's happening is you're creating that external supply. You're adding that supply to the system. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Yeah,
So
dude.
that's why, yeah. So that's why you've gone from 20 to 60-cent T-share back in a year ago, basically at this point, a year and a month ago, to a 210 T-share value today, $210 T-share value today. So this is why it's important to understand, right? Like, this is a monotonic ratcheting repricing system. Okay, this is not some like fly by night situation where you may or may not see, the T-share at a specific price. No, the T-share pricing mechanism is a mechanism. Okay, and what that means is that it has a specific function, and it's there to perform that specific function every single time. And in the T-shares case, that function is a repricing of the time value of money with respect to the math in the HEX system. Okay, so what that means is that at the end of every stake, right, if you stake 10 shares, 10 T-shares, right, for 30 days, and you're entitled to whatever those numbers are for 30 days, right? Let's say it's a 15, 20% payout, right? What happens is when you press end stake, the value of the system just increased by 20%. That's what just happened, right? So it's 20% multiplied by the number of T shares you own divided by the total supply of the system. It's because that's what it's going to be. It's going to be a percentage, right? So you would take that percentage and make that product relative to the price, and that's literally the price increase. Now, I know that's a whole lot of math for normal
Yeah, dude.
people,
It's like imports and exports amongst nations, but we don't
yeah,
anyone's
and I'm sorry, but
it's
I
not.
see it, right? And this is the thing, and this is when I start
That's
getting
why
excited
currencies
because
are different values, and why the dollar,
yes,
each country wants to bring their dollar, their currency value down, is because then they can receive imports for a cheaper price, right?
correct.
Or no, or can they export for a higher price? Let's see, how does that
But
work?
no,
It's
it's
really
no, it's the
fascinating.
same thing. You just said the same thing in two different ways, because let's talk about that. Let's talk about the debasement of the dollar. Why do countries like Germany, China, the U.S. want to make their currency cheaper? It's so that other countries will buy their goods, right? So it is to make their exports cheaper. That's correct, right? Because it's a simple math
Yeah.
equation. It's not anything else.
So, what happens if you apply that logic to hex?
Well, we just did, right? Because that's the thing. That's what the T-shares does. The T-shares reprices that every time, right? Think about it like this. Every time.
Yeah,
So
dude, it's
this is,
crazy. It's just an arrow with a 45 degrees. That's all this chart is for.
yes. You know what's funny? It's not even the chart, bro. That's just what it is. The chart is just gonna it's just gonna show it,
Right,
right? That's the
right.
crazy thing. It's just
Yeah, the
going to
value is
show it.
like that's what's so amazing, is this abstract thought, this code, this law just creates this
Beautiful
it's
picture.
like it's a well-oiled machine that just runs
Yes.
forever.
And that's it.
It just prints money for everybody, but it keeps the money balanced on the other side of the equation. Instead of going in the debt direction, it just keeps the liquid supply and the price per share is equal at all times. It's like a perfect balance amongst those two systems, right? And it's all I don't know, man. It's just crazy to think about the implications of it and how it'll affect the world if it really takes off, you know. And I think that's just a consequence of how good it is, right?
Yeah. I mean, dude, you can sit here and break this system down in so many different ways and just lay it out, right? Just lay it out piece by piece by piece by piece. Like I really just sat here and broke down the T-shirts and exactly how they work. And I exactly understand that I can never own enough hex now more than ever, right? Like, it's like the more I learn about the system, the more I realize how little people actually understand it. People
You do
really
me a
do
solid.
not understand.
I want to
Was
just
that?
detour here for a second. I want to make a
Sure.
comment about this chart right here. Can you
Sure.
pull up? Is this a live chart? Or is this a
Yes,
print?
it is a live chart. Yeah.
Can you pull up RSR? I just want to show you
RSR.
guys something.
Let me see if
If you
this one
click
will.
on
I
it.
don't know if
Yeah.
I don't know if this is. Yeah, this won't do it. Let me pull up another one. I'll pull up TradingView.
Yeah.
No worries.
What's
I got
another one that
TradingView.
had that bull chart today? Or that bull? Give me another altcoin that did that bull. What's that coin right there on your second screen? Oh, well, you can look at Bitcoin on the 12-hour. That would show it. So like Bitcoin is the big daddy, right? And
Yeah.
if you go to the 12-hour chart or just a longer time frame, you see this massive bull shape that was formed. And
For Bitcoin.
what all the altcoins are doing, yeah,
Give me a second. I'll
all
get
the
right to it.
altcoins are replicating this chart, this bull chart, and so we'll come back to Hex in a minute and why that's important.
Mhm.
But see how this
You said
bull
you
chart
wanted
and then
a
they make
12-hour?
you can just look at it right there on the very right side of on the chart there where it makes this
Yeah,
cup and
yeah,
handle.
yeah.
But the cup,
Yep.
there's no handle. It just goes.
Yep.
Well, that's significant because the total altcoin market cap just broke the all-time high and it's kept running as well. And
Interesting.
but it was a delayed effect though that happened, right? So now if you go
Mhm.
back to the Hex chart, it's also replicating it, but Hex is so bullish that it cut into the chart and it like if you look at the bull, you can create like a see if I can pull this back up here. You can see how it's creating this bull formation, right? But it's so
Right.
bullish, it's taking a higher angle than the full rounding out of the bull. So it's pretty nuts. And I noticed that the only charts that don't have this formation are things like Cardano and what was the other one? FTT. It was just a quicker, stronger pulse up, which looks more like how Hex has that strong pulse up out of the backside of the bull as we go green on that.
I
So
think you're talking about like this
see how it's
angle
see
here.
it's like a yeah, it's there's the bull is just like hardly a bull at all. It's just like so bullish, yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I know what you mean. It's like
And
a
so these are
sideways
like the leading
head and
altcoins, right?
shoulders. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's weird. And then FTT is another one. But anyway, so my point is that these super bullish ones, like the two I just mentioned in Hex,
Yeah.
their bulls are like getting cut into, and they'll probably turn into W's maybe, or they'll just go from here. Like
Right.
this
But
market is nuts for alts right now.
it is nuts, right? Because here's the thing. It's like right now, it's like you have the network now just buzzing up. It's like waking up. It's like somebody turned on the on switch, right? Because crypto's been
Yeah, we had
around
the
since
freaking Elon
2009.
signal, bro. That
Right.
was like the most
Crypto's
clear signal we're gonna get for the entire cycle. The bull cycle was the Elon bought 1.5 billion. I have a
right.
guy from work. I've been hammering on him about crypto since October or August, and I've been fighting him tooth and nail. And all it took me to say to him was that Tesla bought 1.5 billion, and he asked, "What exchange do you use?" And I was like,
Wow.
"Wow, that says everything right there
He
about where
already
we're
knew
at with
what
retail and
question to
crypto."
ask. He knew to ask
Yeah,
what exchange.
yep.
A total noob, right?
He's a stock trader, so he's like just didn't believe in
Oh,
the
okay,
Bitcoin
okay, okay,
thesis or anything, right? But that's the type of
okay.
person we're bringing in right now. Is my point. So you're gonna get way more like,
Well,
people are gonna freak out at sell-offs because they're not gonna have the trust in the market. But I think Hex is just gonna shine. It's so anti-correlated to everything else. The people that are in get it, and we're buying it up because we just want to accumulate for the long term.
I mean, that's what it's about, bro. And shout out to the crafty hacks. We out here. We talk Spanish too. We out here in the Bronx talking Spanish. So yeah, shout out to y'all. But yeah, dude. I mean, that's the thing, right? Like, no matter how you like, it's no matter how you dissect hex. No matter how you dissect it. And this is coming from a guy that's also from the legacy side, right? And when you're looking at the whole market, now you say Elon gave the green light. Now,
Pretty
what I
much.
think, what I think is he gave the green light for people that like to sell short or go into cash. That's what I think. Right now, I could be wrong, and I actually expect
You're
myself
not
to be
alone.
wrong because this is based on a sentiment check, right? Because sentiment, in my experience, is the ultimate indicator. There's nothing mathematical that lets you know that humans are out of bounds in terms of their pockets, like sentiment.
Hmm.
And this is just my personal experience. And
Yeah.
again, when I got out of the military the first time, and this is when I first realized I understood it. I was taking a real estate course, and this was in 2006. Now, the height of the real estate bubble in New York City. Now, one of the most expensive real estate markets in the world. And I was in that classroom, and let me tell you, standing room only a lot of the time, and it was like a 10-day class, and people were willing to go there and stand at the end of this bull run. It's crazy, right? It's super crazy. Oh, good link. I'm gonna post that one up, right? And it's stuff like that that people don't think about, right?
Well, here's your sentiment.
And
So when you look at that, yeah, comment on that, because
yeah,
the last time we were up here in sentiment, we wrote it for quite a while.
right.
You look
But
at the
that's
chart.
important to note. That's important to note, right? That's important to note because here's the thing: a market can stay irrational longer than a person can stay solvent, and that's an old school saying, super old school, like that. That goes back to probably before Wall Street even existed, probably before London Stock Exchange even existed. It's just one of those things that's always been true. Humans will always let emotion take over. And this is why, some people stand apart from others with respect to their analysis, and others just lack, right? Because they're too busy feeling and they're not thinking. And that happens to us all the time, right? In a lot of different aspects. I know I can get a little crazy when, like for me personally, when it's the simplest thing and it doesn't go right, I lose my shit and I just can't help it because, I expect the easy things to go right. But those are the things that always go wrong. And that's just life, right? But that's like the thing, right?
Hmm.
And when we're looking at this fear and greed index, it's like, well, where are we in this cycle, right? Where are we in this cycle? And look at this. It's been constantly up here for a while, at least over the past month.
I wish we would have gotten to see data from like the 2017 bull run, because it would give us a lot
Right.
more to go by.
Yeah, I know. I mean, I wonder how they calculate this. This is something to look into.
Yeah, definitely. I don't know the
Yeah, I don't
detail
know either.
completely,
I
but
didn't even know.
it
Look, I
says
didn't
down
know
below.
anything like this existed for crypto. It's only really for legacy. So this
Oh,
is new to me. Yeah, I didn't know this existed.
there's all
This is
kinds of neat
normal.
tools I can help you with here.
Yeah, this is normal in legacy finance. This isn't normal in crypto. So this is new to me.
Whoever
Uh,
perfects an algorithm like this is gonna this is just something that people use
that's
on the
why
margin,
I'm
right?
asking, because you can do this because the chain is public. This isn't, like, this is the thing that's funny to me about crypto. Like, all of this shit is public and nobody's doing it. So it's kind of weird because all of these people
You
are
don't
like
have to do
supposed to
anything
be.
when everything goes up, bro.
I guess
That's
you're
the
right.
problem.
Well, hold on.
We're
That's
in
not
that
true.
phase.
Hold on. You're gonna have to take that back, because if that was the case, I would have never became public, because Hex would just be super fucking obvious to everybody, because it's not.
True. True. I mean, all good things take time, right?
That is true. It took me a whole 30 minutes, and I'm not a 1 minute man, but it took me a whole 30 minutes.
Oh, that's good.
Dude, look, let's talk about the first time we found Hex, because that's
All
a
right.
good segue to break into. How'd you first
Yeah.
find
What
out
is
about
your?
Hex?
Oh, you want
You
you
want me
go
to go
first?
for? I'll go first if you
Yeah.
want. I don't care.
I mean, it don't
You,
matter.
since I'm
Basically, I
newer.
don't remember when I stumbled upon it. I just remember Richard talking
So,
about it in a video, and it was a wrap, bro. Like, it doesn't
there
take
you
long
go.
for me to pull that intuition through, bro. Like, there's like a certain thing there that you just got to listen to yourself at some point, right? And once you
Right,
lock into that and you're aligned, it doesn't take a lot of convincing, because you can sense, you have sensibilities about yourself that you can get to the truth quicker, right?
right,
And I think
right,
that's one thing that these Hexicans have in common, is like they've figured that out about themselves a long time ago, and they apply that somehow in a way that got them here first, right? And I think that's really freaking cool. Like, we'll probably be chilling on a boat someday, somewhere west or east of America. I mean, well, all of us. I mean, because like this is just going to be a wild
yeah,
ride for those like first couple years,
right,
people.
right,
That
right,
first
right,
conference,
right,
bro.
right.
Oh, it's going to be
Dude, you know
glorious.
what's crazy, man? The first one was virtual and it was glorious. I can only imagine the in-person one.
Right, right, yeah.
Wow. Right? Because
We got to
that
take down
first
the we got to take down
that
the dog muzzle mandates, and then we'll be good.
Yeah, right. Good luck to us with that one. But yeah,
Yeah,
good
right.
luck to us with
I've been
that one.
trying. I've been being a freaking
Yeah,
digital soldier out here for a couple months. It didn't go so well.
yeah. It's rough out here, bro, because they're out here shutting us down left and right, left and right. So 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 you just randomly came across a Richard Hart video, and that's how you ran into Hex.
I think it was him versus Eric Wall, actually.
You know,
And in
I've
the
never
beginning, I
seen.
was getting bad vibes from Richard, but it's just because he knew what he wanted to talk about before the conversation
Mhm.
even started. So,
Yeah,
because there's
that,
no way Eric was going to be able to compete with the game theory of the system, and nobody can. They just either get frustrated and don't understand it, or they don't understand the actors involved. Like that's a huge part of this too right now. Until this demigod is birthed like in its full capacity and goes viral, like there's always going to be that bit of doubt, right?
yeah. I mean, you know what's funny is now that we talk about, you bring up basically the past. It reminded me of what it was I did yesterday. I didn't even talk about it when I went on stream, but I'll talk about it tonight. Um, but it's very like I've never ever. And I'll just bring it. I don't know if it's because I'm slow or because I see through the bullshit so much quicker than everybody else because I'm from the hood, right? Like I'm from the slums, like I'm from the
Mhm.
Bronx. So you're used to seeing scammers all day. I know what a
Mhm.
scammer is, 100%. I've seen scammers as I could see, right? So it's a completely different perspective versus what we're used to hearing people in crypto call a scam, which is everything, without actually doing any analysis or actually being capable of understanding what a scam actually is, right? So that's kind of why I want to get into that for a little bit, because I think it's I don't know, it's always topical for the Hex community to talk about what's a scam and what's not, and not so much the Hex
Yeah.
community, but I think the crypto community at large, because there's a
I got
lot
a
of
question,
scams. Yeah, what's up?
and this is for the chat. Like, do you guys think we grabbed onto this because we were really smart or because we got scammed in the beginning? Because the way this thing looks from the outside, further, especially before it was launched, like it was the perfect. It's almost like he marketed it as a scam just to drag people
Mm-hmm.
in and lock them in.
Mm-hmm.
And then that kind of plays into like the bonuses that we're getting from penalties of people who never ended their stakes from the last couple of months. It's like that's going to build up over time. I know I'm getting off track kind of, but that's nuts. How that's just extra bonuses,
Yeah.
paying on top of your interest that's unaccounted for. It's just showing up in your wallet, bro. Oh, it's just gonna just go. It's just gonna go up forever, man.
So that's right. I mean, that's the thing, right? Because that's the like people don't understand, bro. Like, we'll get to this math. We'll get to it. So let's keep talking about a scam and what's not a scam, right? Like,
Sure. Sorry, I got kind of off base there, but
no. It's all good because that's the thing. It's all relevant. It's all
yeah, I
relevant,
mean,
right?
Richard marketed this thing like a scam. Like that was. It's like
Yeah.
that's why it pulled in 20,000 people on day one. It's because like, oh, I'm gonna get this pump and dump, and I'm gonna stake a year, and I'm gonna sell right after the big payday with this
Yes.
huge reward, right? Market
Yes.
one. Yeah,
Yes.
it was smart.
Yes.
And
Exactly.
then
Exactly.
you know what he did? He even said it in an interview. You got to take their money from them so they don't get scammed, and then you pay it
That's
back
very
to
true.
them,
I've heard him say
right?
that,
In the
and that's
form of a
very true.
system that works and is complete and
That's
is
so
audited.
fucking true.
So he's like
You know,
he's like an angel almost. He's like,
yeah, he's an angel in
I'll take your money
disguise.
for free. I'll take
He's
your
an
money for
angel
free.
in
No big deal. Just
disguise.
hand me a few billion, right?
He's an
It's no
angel
big
in
deal. Just hand
disguise.
me a few
Dude,
billion. I'll
he's
pay it
like,
all back to you guys over 15 years plus tenfold or hundredfold or 1,000-fold.
right. Who the hell does that? Who takes X amount of time out of their lives after they're rich and retired, right? And look, yo, here's the thing. I'm not a hype man, right? Like, I'm just a regular guy. I'm not a hype man, but this is a gift, right? Like, it's just math, and he created something that just works the way it works, and that's just it, right? And it works well, right? And it hasn't not worked since it started working, right? And these are all things that we look for in an actual product, right? Like, no 1 year warranty. We want a full warranty, right? Lifetime, right? And
Yeah,
that's what
Bran,
we have.
I'm sure Wales we can talk. I mean, probably get in here right now if you wanted, huh? What do you think?
Oh, Brand, yeah, if he wants to jump in, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
My bad. I'm really horrible at keeping my eyes on the chat. Give me a second. Did he hit me up?
Sorry to interrupt you. Don't forget what you were
No, no,
talking
no,
about.
no, no worries, no worries. No worries. I just know I'm not good at yeah, if anybody wants to jump on, they can. You guys know I keep an open chat, but you just gotta let me know. I don't know. I don't see any but oh shit, I do got DMs, my bad. Oh nah, it's not anybody that wants to jump on. Yeah, if anybody wants to jump on, just shoot me a DM on Twitter, no worries. Or
So
access
yeah,
live and we'll just send y'all the link. No biggie. Go ahead though.
I forget where we were. You were in the middle of a good talk too.
What was I saying?
I basically was just on the whole thing about how the marketing was great, and then we moved into a system
Right,
that worked, right?
right. I mean, and it's kind of ingenious, right? He literally took time out of his life to create something great, but went out of his way to market it as something fake so the dummies can run to it so that they won't put their money in crap, right? I
What does
mean,
that
that's
say about
crazy.
us? Day oneers.
That- well, I mean, not necessarily because,
I know.
here's the
I'm
thing, right?
giving them a hard
Here's the
time, but let's
thing.
be real. If you waited for day 3 or day 4, you were smart.
Right. But here's the thing, right? Like, I remember. So let's talk about when I first came across Hex. So I've told the story a little bit, not really in any good detail, but so I was trying to learn. I was learning the domain name system because I was just like I was going through um, this whole like transitional thing in my life because I just like I had spent so many years just doing one thing, which was just trading, that I finally was like, okay, I need to start learning different things. So I started learning different things and I decided to learn how the internet worked. And I ended up finding Richard Hart through learning about the domain name system. Now that just goes to show the kind of person and the kind of astuteness that he purveys, right? Because I'm here learning about domain names. Now, it's not something the average person knows about. And it's something that very nuanced. It's very, very nuanced. It's very niche. Um, but it's the future. And it sounds crazy because people are like, a .com is a future. Yeah, it's a future because what you have to realize is you have no platform any longer if you are not allowed to have one. Look at what we're doing, scrambling, looking for places to stream from because we don't like the usual suspects, right? So, you have to, again, learn to look at the big picture. I mean, this is something like this market is so fragmented and so illiquid. It's disgusting. But the fact of the matter is that once you learn it, just something as simple as a domain name, right? And it's not anything that people even think about, right? Uh, it's the future, brother, because look at what they did to the world in 1 year. Look at what they did to the world in 1 year, right? They shut businesses down unconstitutionally, factual, not
Damn, you're gonna go
opinion.
off on this now.
Hey,
I mean, it's good,
I'm,
but it's a deep
I mean,
topic.
it's relevant. It's relevant,
It
but
is
it's
totally
relevant,
relevant.
right?
He was
Because here's the
scamming,
thing.
but yeah,
I was
look
literally
what's
learning
happening
all.
to
Yeah,
it.
I mean, it's the thing. That's the whole thing. I'm literally learning all of this stuff, and I happen to find a Richard Hart video. I wasn't looking for crypto.
Yeah,
This is what I'm harping on. I wasn't looking for
really.
crypto at all.
This
At
is
all.
insane,
Yeah.
though. So basically, you got dragged into this it's like by accident almost, right?
Yes, it was a complete accident. I ran into the wall, and it was a hex wall, and it was probably the best wall I've ever ran into. Because because I remember them from back in the early Bitcoin days. Luckily, so I'm like, okay, this dude looks familiar. Let me put this shit on because I didn't know what the hell it was at all. I just saw hex.com and I just knew it was a short 3-letter domain name. All I know is that shit is worth money. So I clicked on the fucking link to see what it was about. And it just so happened to be about a crypto. I don't remember what video it was or anything. It was like a blur in time, dude. It was crazy because all I remember doing after that, 30 minutes in, I swear to God, it must have had to be 30 minutes in because his streams are like super fucking long. So it was like
Mm,
30 minutes in, and I'm already buying Hex.
mm.
I'm already buying Hex. I didn't know what the hell I was doing. All I knew
Yeah, you have a
was I
strong
went to the
intuition, man.
site. Yeah, the site was crazy. It was, we all know the site looks like crapola.
You know what
And
sign? You
that's
know what got me right away? And I don't know if it was the same thing that got you, but it was on the front page when it said, "This is like buying Bitcoin at $1." Like, and when I even just like entertaining that thought, that made me want to look into the system more.
right.
And that was pretty much a wrap right there. Because then once I figured out that it was capable of it, I threw a little money at it because I figured, what's like 2 ETH, right?
You know what's funny? For me, it was a combination of that, which I found interesting because nobody's ever made that claim before. Nobody. Um, but what made it even more interesting to me was the fact that it actually paid interest because it said it that way, right? You look at the rest of the DeFi space, it doesn't say it that way. They don't know what they're saying because they're all a bunch of fucking devs, and that's okay. There's nothing wrong with that. But you should educate yourself before you make anything. So you're not
Well,
looking like
actually,
a
can I
fool.
bring up a cool point here? Like,
Sure.
here's a big point, sticking point for me, and it's that everything you see on CoinMarketCap is completely 100% not a financial instrument.
Correct.
None of them are.
None of them.
It's like they should be recategorized by some formula, not unlike a ranking system in a video game, where they're categorized and they're valued on different properties that they have, not on the market cap. I mean, that literally, it's nothing. When they say it's a vanity metric, it's hardly even that, dude. There's no vanity in a system and that's not a system that's in a state of disorder and not organized. And that's what the crypto space is right now. Because you got like XRP and XLM, which are completely just transfer coins. That's all they are.
Mhm. Yep, the
And
original
then you
stable
got like
coins, as I
stable
call them.
coins.
That's what they are.
And then you got collateral coins, and you got like interest bearing coins. And this is like a whole new wave, the DeFi wave, man. And
hmm hmm
but I just don't think any other system did it right like this one did. Like it's a whole complete system.
I
And so I
mean,
don't really
it's
think anything else is on its level. And I don't know a lot about Wise, which is like a copycat, and there's another one that starts with the A.
yeah.
I don't know a lot about them, but they don't matter to me because this system has so much momentum behind it, and so many people with mad gains that will buy up every dip.
Yo, yeah. I mean, if well, we already saw the chart. That's exactly what it shows. I don't think we need to detail that any further.
Right.
But here's something that's cool, right? The Wise token only pays you like a 10% APY if you like sell an arm or something crazy like that. Like what you have to do just to get 10% is insane. I remember that clearly because I remember seeing it like the APY was lower than that. And when I looked at what you had to do to get 10 APY, it was like a whole bunch of referrals or some shit like that. It was some nonsense. It was some nonsense that had nothing to do with the system. And that's like the point. It was just nonsense. So, when you look at like when I went to that page and I looked at the hex.com website, it looked tacky, whatever. And I already know, like, again, I'm old school. I've been around the internet since the shit was fucking dial up. You know what I'm saying? So I know old websites. I know what's good. I know what's trash. I don't get spammed. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like I'm very, very security conscious because I came up in an era where all of the internet was porn. Like that's how it started, right? Like I was around the internet in that point in time. Like you really had to search for stuff because there wasn't a Google. Like you really had to dig. Netscape wasn't laying it out for you. You had to figure it out. So
Back in the days of like peer-to-peer, like torrent stuff, when you had to like download
yeah,
video movies. I used to download movies all the time, music, man. Oh, dude, bringing
it
back
was
the OG days of the
crazy.
internet.
Yeah,
The
remember
internet is a
LimeWire?
fucking
Remember
fascinating thing on its own.
LimeWire? Remember
Oh yeah,
Napster?
oh yeah.
Come on, good old
Dude,
days,
that
bro.
revolutionized digital content, okay? So, like,
Yes,
without that
entirely.
incident in time, 99, 2000,
You wouldn't
you
have
don't
Apple. You wouldn't have
everything
any
is
of
still
these.
more we still live in a more materialist world then from that point forward,
Yes,
if that doesn't
yes,
happen. That
correct.
digitized entertainment and data, and it just
It
made it
digitized the
pure.
world, really, because
Right, right,
that's what
right.
started it. That's what started it.
Which Michael Saylor always calls it the, vaporization, like,
Right.
of products that are in physical reality that are no
Products and
longer needed there.
services. Hmm.
Right. Virtualization of them and such, right?
Yep. I mean, look at
And it's a
like
fascinating thing to witness. Now we're seeing the dematerialization of money, bro,
money.
and it's called
Correct.
blockchain technology. But now we're talking about the financial category, and we're talking about the only whole financial product on the market and
Right.
planet Earth, really, that has
Really.
mass.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yes.
this
And
is it, man.
capacity. And capacity, right? And that's like
Oh,
the thing.
speaking of capacity, I gotta say, dude, screw
What's
the
up?
fees on ETH. Somebody, Kyle, please save us and port this thing so we have a global sync state where we can use ADA or ETH or energy token when they get their DEX up and stuff. Like, cheapen up the fees for us, man. Then make an oracle that can find the cheapest fees across 3 different chains, right? That's
Right.
the
You know
future
what's
of
crazy?
Hex.
I don't know enough about the crypto space to even say that kind of shit. And that's kind of why I had that little banner up. Limon Ortega asks, what's my crypto portfolio? And I've said this numerous times. It's literally just Hex. And I'll buy Bitcoin and Ethereum here and there. I don't really like, so I do the math, right? So, and this kind of ties into me talking about why I got into Hex. And when I fucking saw, again, when I fucking saw that damn thing was under 1 cent, it was a
Oh,
no-brainer.
dude, I
It
got
was
home
a
from work.
no-brainer.
Okay, this is
No-brainer.
post big payday. I saw it go to 003. I didn't buy. I saw it to go to 0046, and then we sold off again. But when it did that,
You
I
knew
knew that
better.
I wasn't. I knew that time was running out, right? And then within days, I bought at 0046. I bought at I might have bought at 0035, like a little bit, and then I bought a lot more at 0046. Then I bought at 0056. I'm like, all right, I need that's enough. And then it went to 007, and I'm like laying in bed one night, and I was like, dude, this is under a cent is the difference between me make finally realizing my full potential and not. That's what I
Yes.
came to the realization of. I felt bad sitting in Bitcoin and ETH. Dude, I had Bitcoin and ETH. I bought Bitcoin. Okay, I took out of my 401k from work everything I could with COVID deduction, right? And I
Mhm.
put that into Bitcoin at 13,000. And then I rolled that up to 20k. And then I wrote it down on Thanksgiving Day to 16k. And then I wrote it
Yeah,
up into the 30ks. And
love it.
then I was like, dude, this is the 2.2 Bitcoin I'm taking to the moon, man. I'm taking it all the way to $1 million, and it's going to take a decade. And then I started thinking, I'm like, I had bought ETH at 365, and then I added at 585. So I was just right before the pumps up every level. It was sick. At the time, it could not have been better. And I
Wow.
turned like 3 grand into like 9 grand or 10 grand. And I was like, dude,
Right.
I just, every time I added to Hex, I was like, why didn't I put the whole stack in? I kept feeling more guilty for not adding to Hex because the economic energy that it was going to take to get me there plus interest just I I I, it's a sin not to have every penny in it. It's just that's where it's at in its life cycle.
Right, but that's exactly right why it's as Nate J says. Shout out to Nate J and shout out to Hex Toshi, and shout out to all the Hexicans that are tuning in. I appreciate you guys coming over to watch while we live stream. Um, that's like the whole thing, right? It's a no brainer. It's literally free money, literally, right? And and look, when I found it, it was the end of October. It was trading at 0.6 so 0.006. So, I'm buying up into that rip where it goes to 1.5 into November 1st. We're glad to have you, OX Benji. Shout out to you. Yeah, you already know what time it is, Bernie. Always that time over here. Um, and dude, I'm just buying up into this rip. Like I'm pretty sure I'm still in the red on some Hex. Like I don't even care. Right? Like I probably bought at 1.4 cents. Like I don't give a shit. It doesn't matter because people are just not thinking. They're not realizing that they already saw this movie. They're not understanding that. And I'm gonna say that every freaking stream I'm on because it's that serious. We already saw this movie. If you're not buying Hex and staking it for 10 years at a minimum, you're a moron. Straight up.
You got to at
100%.
least beat the 5 years. By the way, that was sick. We just hit 5 years global.
Yeah, we're at 5 years duration. Exactly. Now we're at 5 years duration. So let's talk about that because that's kind of important, right? And
Hmm.
that's gonna take us into our little slide deck, and we can finally get to that, and we can finally get into like all the fun stuff that we got to talk about.
Please.
'Cause this is gonna be a very good stream. Like I'm
I
gonna
like these
go into
charts, man.
I'm gonna go into so
I
much.
really just want to take the time to just like right now publicly say that I really appreciate everything you're doing, and it's been
Oh
1
wow.
week. But you know how time inside this
It has
world
only been 1 week. I forget that.
is warped, right? Because it's just part of this process, right? This
Yeah.
blockchain um,
Yeah.
existence that we all share. It's just the
Yes.
time outside of the bubble
It's kind of
is
irrelevant.
it is because
Yeah.
you are one with this system right now. Like your financial well-being is one with the system. We all share that. So it's like a life source or a life force. It's a way for and it's only possible because again, I cannot harp enough that this is a whole system. Money like this hasn't existed before where it's balanced for
Yep.
it's not
Yep.
as much about get what price you get in, but just that you get in.
Get in. Correct. Literally. Right. And that's how fair the system is. It's designed that way. Because
Yeah, look at the
look
Amazon
at
chart. That's this chart in 15 years, straight to the up in
right.
45.
Correct. That's exactly what this is gonna do. And
Actually,
that's
no, your returns won't be a 45, but the chart will look like
no.
a 45.
Right.
Your
The
returns will look
returns are gonna be
exponential. That's the
ridiculous.
amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah. I mean, that's the funny thing, right? And that's why when you look when we go through these charts, people are gonna be like, "What the fuck?" Right? Because
right.
it's so crazy.
It's not a true representation, which is why I want to find a model that shows more clearly like how your returns fare against
Dude,
the chart looks like because you're going to get
now that I
too close.
understand like the math, I already know what I have to do. It's so simple. It's so simple. You people, everybody's gonna lose their shit. Everybody's gonna lose their shit because they don't understand. This is literally just math. Like it says it in the paper. And now, if you're not a technical person, you're not gonna see it because you're not gonna want to read the paper. But trust me, read the technical layman's guide and read the
You don't
stake
have to do
part.
that. All you have to know is that this universe is foundationally mathematics, like number, like the number
Yes.
itself as an idea,
Yeah.
and as a consequence, the way it manifests itself in reality. But the
Right.
system is built on that number,
So let's talk
like
about cryptos in
in a
general
way
because
that
that's very important. Right now, let's talk about cryptos in general because that's very important. It's what you just said is very important. Right. Every crypto is literally code. And what that means by default is that every crypto is literally math, right? So this is why I understood from day one when I heard about Bitcoin that this was just math. I mean, hell, the Bitcoin is only made after the equation is crunched. Okay. So people have to understand what's happening. Like you got to look at what's actually going on.
mm,
So all of
it's a
this, right?
commodity, right? And there's a production cost associated, right?
Correct. Right.
And someone had to do the work, right?
Hmm.
So all those
But it's a
processes are in
commodity.
motion.
Right, but it's a commodity that has a finite supply. So it's not a regular commodity in a sense like it's wheat or it's gold or it's silver, because even gold and
Ah,
silver, right? Even gold and silver are produced at least an increasing rate, a positive rate most of the time on average of 2.2% year over year, right? So that's just on average, right? So if you have a long enough timeline, greater than 10, 20, 30, 40, 50 years, right? On a long enough timeline, that's going to be the inflation you're going to experience in precious metals. Now, people don't really talk about that, but 2% over 100 years is nothing versus holding cash, which is going to be 1,000,000%, right? So that's why nobody
mm,
talks about it because it's really inconsequential. So it's fine, right? But that's just a reality that we must know is there. Because again, there's a reason cryptos are the fastest appreciating asset in human history. And it's because of the 24/7 reality of the market, right? It's everything happens in shorter spans of
it's
time.
because Bitcoin's scarce, man.
Yeah, that too. All
That's
right.
why.
Yeah,
Seriously.
no,
And then you
no,
can put
not
narrative to it.
really, bro. Not really. Because again, I'll point to something like Celsius. That thing is not finite, right?
No,
And
I
then
know,
look,
but think of it like this, and I know what you're trying to say is that those as self-contained systems. But feel me out here for a second. Without Bitcoin, the system collapses.
no, I get that. I get that. I get that.
So
Bitcoin is the center of the
because it's
universe. Bitcoin is the sun.
well,
Let's get this straight,
roots are already
right?
arguably, yeah. It's either a
Yeah,
tree with
The Bitcoin is the sun, brother. I'm sorry, Bitcoin is the sun.
everything else
And
is
Richard Heart says it all the time.
branches with it. or
Yeah,
it's
without
the time.
Bitcoin, we
Yeah.
don't have
But
the
here's the
rest of it.
thing: is like you're right to a point, but like this,
Yeah,
but
to a
at
point. To a
some
point.
point, Bitcoin will no longer suit that role anymore. And here's when it happens. Okay, and this is a theory that I've never said publicly before. When energy becomes free, and trust me, it will happen, whether in our lifetimes or another lifetime, we will master energy, we will master physics in a way that
Well,
is beyond our comprehension.
I think it's
But
alright.
when that happens,
I can tell you this: energy is already free. The technology just is not allowed to exist. So I'll say that.
what well, the
Conversation for another
production of
time.
it is limited, right?
Well, it was a conversation for another time. Continue. Nikola
Y
Tesla solved
Yeah,
that problem.
well, I was
So.
just thinking about you kind of threw a wrench in there because you're making me think about how Hex solves the problem, but we're not there yet because we're still on
Oh, sorry,
because look,
sorry.
the
But it
math
does solve
so
that
look,
problem. No,
retail
today you're right.
today it does, but my point is
Yes.
that if you took away like without okay, let me put it this way. You take Hex away, and if Bitcoin fails, the um entire crypto universe fails. But
Yeah.
since Hex exists, if Bitcoin fails, there's Hex to lean on, which is where it gets into my bear market theory where during the bear market, Hex may be a zero correlated hedge against the forces of the bear market. Until which point the APYs get so low and dismal, like 3.69%
Yeah,
theoretically,
yeah.
right?
Because
Or
it's like
5%,
100% staked or
that
whatever.
that people start freaking out, emergency end staking, giving us all the rewards back. And that could
Yeah,
be
I
at any
mean,
point in there.
yeah.
Or they figure it out and they hold through.
Well, think
That's
about
gonna
it.
be up
That
to them.
that that extreme makes sense, right? Because now we're at the other opposite end of the extreme bounds, right? So that makes sense, actually.
Yeah.
So yeah, because that's logical, right? Because you have one side where people think it's a scam, then you have another side where people just think the system isn't paying them enough, even though they can't get that even outside the system, right? So it makes sense.
Right. So what if the bear market gets so dismal that and the returns are so low and you can't trade it for shit that Hex is performing better, right? Then it's
Yeah.
going to become the hedge.
Well, hold on. It does perform better.
Well,
Let's get this shit straight.
yeah,
I mean, and then again, this isn't like I'm not here to be a Hex cheerleader. I'm just here to talk the math
right,
because those are just the
right,
numerical facts, right? And that's you know me. That's just what I stick to, and that's what I'm all about. So I'm always gonna lean on to that because if the story was different, my tune would be different, but it can't be because that's not what the numbers show. So let's just get into the numbers and we'll keep the conversation going. So let me just start by talking about what indexing is. And indexing, and the reason I'm going to talk about this is because again, I'm going to break down the charts. You know, everybody wants to come here for that, so this is what we're going to talk about. And indexing allows for an apples to apples comparison of two or more performance. Allows for an apples to apples comparison of two or more performances of different return streams. And typically, you start at 100, which is basically like zero for each return stream, and it starts at zero unless otherwise stated, right? And the reason we want to do this is because we want to see what exactly is going on when we're looking at more than one asset, right? And we're typically looking at a market, right? We're not typically looking at, not a market, but a market of various markets, right? Like even if you're looking at the stock market is more than just one stock. Futures market is more than just one future. The FX market is more than just one FX, just like the crypto market is more than just one crypto. So this is why, indexing exists. It gives us the ability to compare different markets and track their performance and see which one is actually outperforming and which one is underperforming and which one is in line. So that's the whole point. And with that, we are basically trying to extract what returns are better or worse or in line, right? So what is a return? A return is essentially the amount of money made on an investment minus the money used to invest. So I lay out a little example there where I invest $100, made 30. So that leaves me with a total sum of $130. And then the return ends up being $30, which divided by my initial investment yields me a 30% return. And that's essentially how that works. And now we're just going to get into the charts just so we can go through it. And the first chart is always the best one. No, if PowerPoint would just work, that would be great.
Come on, Excel. Let's go.
There we go. There we go. That's PowerPoint. Excel has already done work for the night. So look at this. This is
Oh, yeah, duh.
amazing.
Wrong one.
So
Fucking my PowerPoint, duh.
yeah, so this is as of yesterday, February 9th, while we were live streaming, we were talking about this, and as you guys can
Get
see,
the feet up. It's showtime, boys.
yeah, this is a beautiful thing. The T shares are at 10,200%, basically 10,175. Amazing. Will we take a pause here tonight? Let's see what price is currently doing right now, because we were just looking at it. And look, it looks like we might be taking a pause. I don't know. I mean, I would guesstimate yes, because not just because the rest of the market is, but because we
This
are
sell-off was so
kind of,
brutal.
yeah, I mean, we're just kind of at extremes across the board. So I think Hex is just due for a pullback, just because everything else is.
We'll hit the bottom
Yeah,
of this channel if you draw a straight line on the bottom there.
right,
We'll at least touch
right.
that, and if we bounce for support, we'll come back up to the midline of the channel.
I mean, and here's the thing. I don't think it's going to
A lot
be
of
much of
sideways
a
action.
drop. Yeah, I don't think it's going to be much of a drop. I think it's just going to be just a floor being put in for the next run higher.
I tell you what, 1.05 pennies will be protected.
Yeah. I mean, we're definitely not going below a penny ever again. I don't see that. If we do,
I wouldn't say ever again, but I would just say that
well,
it's
not
definitely
anytime
getting
soon.
supported.
Not anytime soon. Not anytime soon. And
I agree with that. It's just why would we have done all this work to come up here just to sell off again? I mean, come on, guys.
yeah.
Hold on
I
to your
mean, look,
bags
this
until we get
is
above
the
2
thing.
pennies.
So that's a good thing. Let's talk about that, because that's kind of like a technicality that Hex has built into it, right? And if you look at this chart, it kind of displays that, and it's just like the price chart. It's no different. This is just a return chart, but the return chart just gives you the percentage numbers, right? And this is what we care about. The reason we care about that is because that's what actually determines how much we make. That's why we care. So right now, the staking, let me see, the duration for Hex, the last I looked was at 5 years, flat out. Let me just take a look at the app now just to see, and I should have just had it open, but I'm just not good at this streaming stuff. Oh wow, it
Good,
actually
brother.
took a dip. It actually took a dip to 4.98. I guess we got some short big stakes in there. So that's probably why, because it was at 5 earlier. So no biggie there. But the important thing to note is that we're basically at 5, right? And that's important, because what
Oh yeah, if
happens,
we hold this, I see what you're saying. Yeah,
yeah,
100%.
because what happens is you start restricting supply at that duration level, right? And that's the thing. That means people are staking for that average length. So that means coins are gone for that average length of time, right? And that is what's important to understand here, because again, when you're staking a coin, you're making it disappear. And that is critical to the price performance of the coin. And that's why we care about that. So if you look at Ethereum, Ethereum is lagging with 1,337%, 1,338. So Hex is still doing great, just like expected, and the T-shirts are dragging it up. And post big payday is returning 264%, as you can see, at the top of above the to the right side of the heading here of the chart. I have it in hot pink, and Bitcoin still is nowhere to be found. We have 140 days ago, folks, before Bitcoin is actually away from the dead. In terms of actual, full network activity like Hex. So, there's just a lot of things that Hex is superior at that people just don't give it credit for. And, they're just going to learn, because math doesn't care. So let's talk about the Bitcoin halvings, because they're important. So Bitcoin halvings, right? The miner started back in 2009, mining a total blocks of 50 Bitcoins at a time, right? And the first halving occurred in November 2012, the second one in July 2016, and the third one the other day, basically in May 2020. And the next one is expected to occur in approximately 3 years and 2 months from this point in time. Now, why am I talking about halvings? The reason I'm talking about halvings is because they're basically what gives Bitcoin its ability to become scarce, right? Like we were talking about a few minutes ago. Um, that's kind of what it's all about. People have this mentality to think that because something is scarce, that's what gives it its value to a certain degree. And sure, it does, but again, that's not what gets the price pumping. What gets the price pumping is the people buying and not selling. So I just want to be clear on that because that's very, very important. Because if we want to be technical and we want to be analytical, we can say that even though Bitcoin does have that scarcity factor, it's not actually going to be scarce until the year 2140. So is it really scarce right now? We might have jumped the gun on that one, right? Because you have to actually understand, as the last bullet point notes, the last halving actually won't occur until we're all dead. So is it really
Yeah,
scarce?
Richard's gonna figure out life extension, and you're gonna live like 100
Well, let him
more.
prove me wrong first. Fuck it. Until then, I'm right.
Let's be real.
Because
This thing
it's
is crazy. The valuation
yeah,
is driven by the mining, right? So
yeah.
I've been a miner for I built a data center, mined
There
100
you go.
units out in the
There
middle
you
of
go.
nowhere, right? I did that whole game and it sucks. Just like Richard
Hmm.
says, it sucks.
Hmm.
You know. Long story short, there is billions of dollars of compute equipment that is created during the bull run because it can be afford it to be paid for because the funding is there in the form of price appreciation.
Right.
And that's after the halving, right?
Right.
So then there's this wave of people that comes in and does like a whole new loadout of equipment for the next 4 years, right? And
Hmm.
anybody who comes in after that, right before the start of the bull run, he buys equipment at the top and forward, loses a ton of money. And it happens every time because that's just how the thing gets overvalued
Right.
because there's a shortage of equipment because there's a bear market. And then all of a sudden, the halving happens and everybody's production gets cut in half. So what you were making the day before just got cut in half, your revenue stream. So
Right.
unless you are working with very cheap electric, had the equipment mostly paid off by that point, you're going to end up underwater, which is what happens to most people that get into mining. But the beauty of Hex is that you can just circumvent all that, get free mining security from Ether, but get all the benefits of the best financial instrument in history. Like it's awesome. But the mining thing and the valuation of Bitcoin and the halvings, it's scarce, man. Most
Hmm.
coins don't move. Like 5 million coins are not going to move again,
No,
which
not at
means you
all.
only have 2/3 of the supply out there, and less people are willing to sell close to this 40K level. And the
Hmm.
reason is because the stock to flow at the bottom of the next bear market is going to be somewhere in the 40,000s at the very low, at the most capitulated low. We are at the floor for what is to come of the bull market for Bitcoin. And that's where the overvaluation starts. And everything has to settle out over a 3-year bear market. However, I will say that I have a theory that this might be a double bubble. It's kind of like that second bull run
Hmm.
on Bitcoin. I think because the institutional money coming in is enough to pump it that far.
Right.
I wonder how bad the FOMO would get with like, you know, mid caps because they if they start getting in, that's when you could get this like crazy event where big institutions can technically work almost coordinate and dump on everybody else for billions. It would be interesting, dude. It's going to be interesting when governments, corporations, and individuals are all competing on an even playing field through Bitcoin. But that'll only be a wave, dude. It's not going to be forever.
Yeah, it's not. But it's interesting because you mentioned that because I mentioned this last night, but the city of Miami is actually going forward with a move with a decision to allocate Bitcoin to their balance sheet, right, to their as a treasury asset, which is a pretty important move. Because that's kind of solidifying the seriousness, right, of Bitcoin and its scarcity, as you state, right? Because I get the scarcity aspect, but my whole thing is from a price pump perspective, that doesn't really matter apparently because you have a lot of coins out there that aren't scarce and they pump.
Yeah, yeah.
They
No,
don't
that's
pump to
just because
40K, but
well,
they
you know
pump.
why that is, dude. It's
Yeah, yeah.
because
But it's
Bitcoin
important to
gets
note.
all
It's
this valuation so fast,
important.
and the thing doesn't have to have. At some point, it's just a ticker, bro. Look what
Yeah,
just happened to
exactly.
GameStop. Look what just happened
Exactly.
to AMC. The mentality of the people investing right now is short-term gratification. What does
Yep.
HEX do? It
Not that.
moves consciousness away from short-term gratification
Hmm.
to waiting for something better in the future, and it's amazing. And the, it has to, in order to pull that off, it has to make it a hell of an attractive deal.
Right.
And
And
I think the fact that at face value it's not so apparent for some people in crypto, it's the complete opposite for people outside of crypto because they understand what a CD does. And when
right.
they
I don't
see
I
the
don't know what
return
happened
of
there. That's so
40%,
odd
it
to me.
yeah, well, it's just hatred towards Richard because his marketing was so good that he convinced people who hate him that it was a scam.
I
Uh,
guess you're right. Yeah. I
oh
mean,
god, it was the biggest mind fuckery I've ever seen in my life, and he's like a wizard level 9, bro. It's awesome.
yeah, he is. He is pretty ingenious, bro. Can't front on that.
The
So
dude,
with
the thought of him
Bitcoin,
being the richest man
go
on
ahead.
planet Earth just blows my mind. He could be.
well,
He could be one day.
well, given how this shit is
Unless he sells
designed,
early. He'll probably sell at $10 buck it.
I doubt that. I
I'm
doubt that.
kidding.
Yeah, I highly doubt that. highly
But
doubt
sorry,
that.
get back to it because let's see.
Oh no, no,
Bitcoin
no.
isn't scarce yet, bro.
Yeah, no,
It'll
yeah,
go through
not
its
yet.
scarcity and non-scarcity phase.
Right,
It's part of the
right.
4-year cycle of the Bitcoin halving cycle.
I'm very
But just
curious
look at the
because
bull.
I think, look, I think we're getting to a point where it's dangerous to be long crypto, right? Because now I understand all of the institutional monies coming in here and all of that, but I think we're entering a point in time where there are just so many red flags that I think people just need to start being careful with respect to the exposure to the usual suspects because there's just too many
Yeah,
um
I
what's the
agree.
word too
There's a
many
lot of
too
risk out
many
here.
too many welcoming signs for the regular person into the market right now, and that typically spells trouble. So just buyer beware. Just speaking from
Mhm.
experience here, it's not a guarantee of any kind, but
As long as you're not leveraged long, while we're going
right.
sideways, like you should be good. Like we could pull back to like 38K, and if it
I don't
holds,
think this
we're good.
applies to Hex. I just think this really just applies to the rest of the market, and we'll go into
100%.
that.
I'm
Yeah,
saying,
we'll go into that.
yeah, 100%. Because but I mean, it's still good to know because I guarantee you, 99% of Hexicans have bags elsewhere.
Yeah, for
And I
sure.
think it's important for everybody to know that the faster you get your T shares and get them out of that shit, the better.
The
Because
better, yeah.
here's the
You
thing:
just
if Bitcoin and ETH outruns your position in Hex for the next like 3 to 9 months because we're in a mega bull and Hex doesn't go viral enough fast enough for your liking, it will catch up and do a tenfold over everything else at one point or another, just because of the way
yeah,
that the share price gets ratcheted up and the game theory works out and the awards and the interest, so that 45-degree angle is going to be there, but your returns are going to be exponential if you're in now. Like it's just
right.
so
I mean,
apparent in the
again,
math, man. It just speaks for itself.
yeah, and that's the thing. It's just a T-share. It's just a T-share pricing mechanism that really throws people off because they don't, until I read it, I didn't really understand it. So now that I read it, I completely understand it, and probably better than most, if not all people, because it's very simple. The T-shares are always going to go up in price because every time somebody ends a stake, that compounding valuation is what you get at the end of that point in time. So that's what gives that T-share value that increase. So that pay, like I explained earlier, that percentage of that pool is going to get added into that price, and that's where that price bump is going to come into play right from the ending of those stakes. So it's just one of those things that people are just
You
don't
really like
I didn't
math
get
and
it.
golden ratio, right? You
Yeah.
should check out that
Oh,
chart that
oh,
I sent you.
hold on. Golden ratio is the truth. let me
All
let
right,
me
well, let's see
explain.
it. Pull that chart up that I sent you in the private chat there. It's Bitcoin.
Oh, give me a second. I think I know what chart you're talking about. Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah.
This
Because
is
I
this is why you're worried, right?
Hold
because
on.
we're hit this level.
Let's see.
Zoom
Oh
into
yeah,
the.
look at that. How about
We're at the
that?
top. We're at the
Let me
top
see
here.
if I can get this thing to just
Not
show the
saying
image.
those other lines can't go. We can't go hit higher levels.
Oh yeah, we could definitely, because that's the thing. That's a funny thing about crypto, right? Like we can definitely keep going, right? It's not so much that we can't keep going. My thing is, it's just a lot of what did I do?
Double click the
There's
chart,
double click. All right, nice. There's a lot
and then
of
drag that bad boy over like modern day, so we get a nice close up of the last like 9 months or something. There you go. Do like the last few years, yeah. And then up. Do up. Go up. Do the double click. And then let's see the chart. Just drag over, yeah, that part of the chart. Hell yeah, dude.
like
Set.
that. All right,
Yeah,
cool.
that's good. You don't have to even do all that white because it'll zoom it up if you get rid of all the white parts space below. Just like go only over the chart. So the opposite of that, go up. There you go.
Yeah,
It's kind of funky because it's a. I want
yeah.
you to build one of these. I want you to code one of these in live time for Hex. There's all kinds of cool charts on this website. There you go. Automatic. Let's do
It's
it.
way better.
So we're
Yeah,
actually breaking out of the top level of the golden ratio right now,
yeah,
which is
and
super bullish. But so
yeah.
then go back to the charts and we'll look at another chart that'll show you where we could head for Bitcoin
Boom.
from here.
That's what I was looking for.
Because that bull is breaking out.
Look, so here's the thing. Typically, that means you can't go any further. You gotta respect the golden
Typically, right?
ratio. Yeah, typically. Like look at what happens on the downside, right? Like it tried to go, it tried to break away, but it couldn't. Like it just sticks to it. That's kind of what I'm trying to say. Like I'm not saying it can't go. Like if you look here, it has an upper bound, right? This upper bound isn't here, so there
It
is
is.
room to
But
run.
we need to go back a chart to show you kind of where.
Hold on.
So go back one screen. Go hit the look into Bitcoin. See the other charts because I got to show
Oh,
you this because then it'll see where we can go. I showed you kind of where the golden ratios are at right now, but I want to show you where we could go. Look for down. Click on logarithmic growth chart curve. It's up. It's up a little bit.
oh, here we go.
Logarithmic growth curve. Yep.
Yeah.
Okay, so these are your ranges. Zoom into this bad boy. Just by dragging, you can drag and drop over it. Like you can pull your probably, I don't know, do 3 years of data or something. Oh yeah, that works. Perfect.
Okay.
Perfect.
Yeah, that's not too bad.
Um, there you go.
Boom.
There you go. There you go. Perfect. You're getting it. So you see here, we're at the top of that level, right? Well, we could come back
Yeah.
down, touch the midline on the yellow, fuck around here for a few weeks, go sideways, and
Yeah.
then boom, we're going up to 70K. We're
Yeah.
going up to 70K.
Yeah, I wouldn't be
And if we
surprised at
get some
that.
speed behind that, like Oracle jumps in, then Apple jumps in, then this and that.
Yeah, 'cause that's the funny thing,
Then
right?
every PayPal noob on earth got all their paychecks because things been going sideways. They've been saving up. They buy the debt. They're like, we gotta get in. We gotta get in. And this shit just rides
Yeah,
to 100K.
because that's the funny thing. Right now, they're calling all the rookies to come in. Come in, buy all the Bitcoin you want now. Right? We didn't have any. We're buying it now too. So come join us. Wink, wink. Right? In the stock market, when that happens, that typically means that they're selling you all their inventory while you're buying it and you're left holding the bag. That's typically what that means.
Well,
FYI.
believe me when I say my target for the end of the bull run for Bitcoin is over 140,000.
Well, there you go. There you go. Right.
Whether we get there in I don't know, whether we get there in 3 months or whether we get there, we go through a little bit of a
Here's
mini
the
bear
thing.
market and we get there in 9 months, it's gonna happen this year.
Yeah, but here's the thing. What I'm saying is you got to think about it, right? Because for the average person, a move from 45 to or from 48, which is where it was at yesterday, that was a high, 48,200, or 48,200. A drop from 48 to 40 is a lot for somebody that doesn't understand what's going on, right? So they'll sell out and cause a puke. They'll cause that puke spike down, right? Like you don't like that's the thing about this market, right? The higher the halvenings go, the higher the price goes, the bigger the dollar variations. However, the smaller the actual rate of change. So while it'll look big on the chart, it actually won't be big. And it'll fool you into thinking it's not time to buy the dip, but it is. And this is kind of what I'm trying to highlight. right? So while I'm saying you got to be careful, you have to understand why you have to be careful. It's not so much that this is going to turn into a move to 20,000, although you never know, right? Because if they turn the
Yeah,
network
you just
off,
have
then
to look at the
who knows?
21 exponential moving average to know kind of where it could try to
Right,
bounce from.
right. That's
On the weekly, sorry,
actually a good.
weekly 21 EMA. There you go. Now you know
Right.
it's cheat code.
That's a good marker. That's a good marker to follow, actually. Yeah, it's a very good marker to follow. And if again, if you want to play it tighter to the chest, right, you just want to use a shorter time frame. I mean, this is really all just about respecting your risk, right?
It's all
And
about your
only
time
you,
preference, right?
yeah, and only you know your risk, right? But that's the thing. Um, your risk is tied to your time frame. Right. That's why, like for me, I don't have a problem being all in hex. I don't, because my time frame is not this year. It's not next week.
Right.
It's not even 5 years. Right. So it's stuff like that you have to keep in mind.
100%.
Yeah.
I
So
mean,
let's
a
get
lot
back
of
to
us
the
are here for the
side.
long haul, so always
Yeah. I
good,
mean,
always
that's the
good.
thing, right, bro? Because yo, all right. So let's talk. Let's do this logarithmic chart, right? Because this is exactly what I've been talking about. This is exactly what I'm telling people Hex is going to do. Now, if you look at this chart, started at 0, and by the end of year 1, wait, when did it start? 10, 2010, August,
And I mean,
August
I don't
11,
remember. This is close enough to the
August
beginning of
11, it was at a buck already, right? And then by August 12, where's it at?
so Hex
12.
didn't sell off as hard as that.
I mean, Hex doesn't sell off, right? Like, and that's the
It's
thing people
crazy.
don't understand.
How can we sit here and watch it go through 60 and 70% retracements and still not call it a sell-off? It's because it recovers so quickly.
But here's the thing. So let's talk about that because that's a very good question, and people don't understand why. And it's simply a mathematical reason, right? When a price goes down, like, all right, let's talk about where we're the starting point. If you're starting from 0.0001, 3 zeros and a 1, and then you go to 2 zeros and a 1, what just happened? You just went up 10 times, right? And if you drop from there to half of that, that's just going to take you to point, to the halfway mark between 2 zeros and 3 zeros. And that's going to be the half, right? 105, whatever between that, right? So that is going to be a 50% drop, right? So you just went 150%. So now, how do you recover that 50% drop? By going up 100%. You don't go up 50%, right? And that's the thing that people kind of miss, right? So just because you dropped 50% doesn't actually mean anything because you just went 200%, right? So it's about understanding that relative move. Like, did you really drop or did you not? So that's important to understand that when you're looking at a chart. And if you're understanding that you just went up 400%, did you really drop, 50%? You have to normalize that in some way, shape, or form, I would think. So I don't know. You kind
What
of
else
got to
we
look
got
at
here?
things. You kind of got to look at things like that. What's that?
What else we got for charts, hex-wise? I've seen enough
Oh,
Bitcoin to make me puke.
yeah. So just yeah, I was just gonna talk. So my goal here is just to relate Bitcoin's halvings to essentially the T-share for Hex, right? So the halving function essentially guarantees that scarcity, right? Because as I highlight here, it decreases the amount of Bitcoin per generated block every time a halving occurs, and that occurs every 210,000 blocks, right? And with that, the value of the miner's reward is decreased every single time. And as I noted earlier, the last year for mining is going to be 2140 for Bitcoin. Now, I know you guys have noticed because all over the news, they'll show all of these major companies getting into mining now. It's not guys in their, basements mining anymore with their CPUs or their GPUs or even a mining rig. Like, you need like some serious cash flow to mine nowadays. It's crazy. And this is like the supply demand chart, what it looks like basically. So what you're seeing here is every time the orange line cascades down a level, you're going from 200,010 blocks to the next 200,010, and that's what's happening every time the halvenings happen, right? So this is what's kind of cool. So if you look at this yellow line on this chart, this is essentially the T-share rate, right? But I flipped it on our chart, and it's actually showing how we're carrying price, and you guys will see that later on. But I just wanted to show you guys this because this is basically the T-share rate, but inverted, right? Because for Bitcoin, it's in a halvening function, right? So you would literally have to invert it to show it like the T-share rate. So I just wanted to show you guys that. And as you can see, you have that logarithmic function for Bitcoins, right? The quantity of Bitcoins, and the price seems to be following that function as well, interestingly enough, at least the return streams for the price. So I just wanted to
Dude, this is
highlight these
crazy, man.
things.
I
Yeah,
just had this like
this.
huge thought.
Oh, there you
This is
go.
like,
Lay
look at
it
this,
on us.
look at this, look at this thing going down, this halving. So what that is, behavior-wise, is it's burning the miners because their
Mm-hmm.
revenue streams are getting cut in half. But the
It's the same
alternative is
thing.
HEX, where it
The T-shares
just
get more
raises the
expensive.
price for the next guy to buy in, so it's not hurting the guys in the system. It's helping the guys in the system already.
Correct.
Versus this system where it hurts the guys that are
Complete opposite.
so committed in Bitcoin, where you have to
Yes.
buy new equipment because everyone else is outperforming you. It's nuts. One
Boom.
is like a negative and one's a positive. It's just so in your face. It's just amazing.
Boom. 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 Glad you called that. Didn't even have to say it. Moving right along. So now we get into HEX post big payday. Now we're 82 days post big payday. And look at how outstandingly HEX is outperforming the competition. That competition being Bitcoin after each halvening. Now, what I did here is I altered how on the upper right, I laid out a little snippet from my spreadsheet where it's detailing how much better HEX is doing than Bitcoin at each respective point in time for 82 days at each respective halvening. Sorry.
Mm.
So the first halvening happened in November 2012, as I talked about earlier, and we are 81% ahead
Dude,
of Bitcoin from
how did
with respect
you
to the first
recover
halvening.
on
Now,
Bitcoin so quickly? Like
now,
just a few days ago, you showed us this chart and that we were not above that orange line,
exactly,
which was a few days ago, bro. Like I swear, we were
exactly,
all the way down at the bottom of
yeah,
that V. Bottom.
literally yesterday, and we
This
weren't above
is
it before that, and now we're
like
all the way
this thing
above it.
moves at hyperspeed.
Yes, it does. That's right. People don't get it. It's crazy. What are you gonna do? What are you gonna do? Right? I mean, it's one of those things, man. I mean,
Talk on
this
these
chart is
guys
just
for hours.
crazy.
Probably
This
help them
chart
out.
is just crazy. This chart is just crazy. Wow. All right, we can just move along. This is just amazing. So let's talk about value. So here we got the T-share and Ethereum chart, T-share versus Ethereum chart, and the T-share versus Bitcoin chart. Now we're on the Ethereum network, which is a DeFi network. We're not really making much of an impact in terms of the value versus Bitcoin. But we are making an impact in terms of the T-share versus Ethereum value. Now, I'm curious as to your thoughts as of why we don't seem to be making an impact on the Bitcoin network.
It's already flat, dude. If I'm reading this chart right.
Yeah. I mean, that's
Let's
kind
see.
of
Hold on.
like.
Hold on. This is so.
So the pink line is the
Yeah, no.
T-share to
I just.
Ethereum.
It seems like to me like Bitcoin's compressed. There's more volatility on ETH. So, I mean, what
Right.
I mean is percentage-wise, like there's more. It takes less monetary energy for ETH to go up in value and down in value. So it shows a huge
Right.
fluctuation between HEX ETH. Whereas
Right.
Bitcoin dude, HEX at a penny or 1.1 pennies or 1.2 pennies has no impact on $46,000 BTC, bro. It's like
Correct.
a teeter totter.
Correct.
But when HEX goes to $100 a coin, it'll look a little bit better.
Look a little different. Yeah, maybe you'll be in the 1% mark. Maybe
Yeah.
the 0.5% mark. But we're making some gains towards
Oh
Ethereum now.
wait. What am I saying? This is T-shares. This isn't HEX value. So yeah.
Oh
So
no,
like
but
my point.
it's
Yeah, it's relevant though because T-shares are gonna surpass Bitcoin's valuation in US dollars at quickly, like faster than any of us expect. A few years, you know,
Well, yeah, yeah,
Bitcoin
well,
to a
yeah, yeah,
million,
yeah.
T-shares to 10. Like, I mean, yeah,
Probably in 5 years for sure. Probably in 5 years for sure.
dude. Honestly, it's really only up to us. Like, if we can onboard as more people, it's a wrap. It's we get to
Well,
decide how fast
yeah,
this
I
thing
mean,
moves.
I'm saying in 5 years for sure because that's definitely happening in 5 years. That's all.
I mean,
I
side
don't
note,
know
how
how
do you feel
fast it could
about like a
happen.
Coinbase listing, like with how many people could be onboarded that quickly, or like an institutions coming in here? Like, how would that look on the chart, dude? Imagine like how that
They
would
would
drag APYs down. Like,
I
I
mean,
worry
yeah, that
sometimes.
would make them compress for sure because they would definitely be staking,
I mean, you're pushing the
right?
price up on that coin now. We could all exit.
Yeah, it's free money. At that point, I couldn't even imagine because here's the thing. An institution doesn't just jump into something, right? They're gonna just get in there and they're gonna actually have a clue about what they're doing. They're not just gonna, do what we did basically for the most part, which is just get in there and buy and figure it out later, right? Like most institutions aren't gonna do that. So, it's important to keep that in mind too. But as you said, they're gonna jump in there. But the question is, what are they going to do when they jump in there? And that, I think, is the interesting thing to focus on because that's the one that's hard to tell because it's safe to assume they're going to know what they're going to be doing, but you really never know because everybody doesn't operate from the same vantage point, right? So you really just never know. So let's go on to the next chart here. So this chart, right? This chart is showing that the T-share value can go all the way up to 40% of an Ethereum, right? And that's what we've seen as a maximum so far. And for versus Bitcoin, it's been it's not even on here. Must have got deleted. Sorry about that, guys. It's been 1.12% basically, which is pretty high, right? Because that essentially translates to right now about $400 a T-share, which is pretty high. And we've only been that high, I think, on an intraday basis, and that was back on December 31st. We didn't close there, but we got up there. So that's just something to keep note of. And we'll keep moving along here with these charts. Come on. All right. So this is the HEX payout metrics chart. Now, this chart is highlighting basically all of those things that you see on the main page for go.hex.com. Daily payout, total T-shares, and the payout per T-share. The somewhat dull pink line is the daily payout. And for today, we have 63.6 million, basically, or million HEX paid out. And the payout per T-share is 5.873 HEX. And the total T-shares, I'm guessing that number is 10.827 trillion, but I'm just taking that and making it a million there for display purposes. But that number is definitely bigger than that. So what this chart is showing is just, again, those metrics that you find on the homepage. I just wanted you guys to know that. And that's kind of like was the whole point behind this stream, just to talk about these charts in as much detail as need be. So if you guys got any questions on this in the chat, shoot them. Let me know, because I'm here to answer those questions. So definitely shoot them my way if you have any about any of the charts, because that's the whole point of this. And as you guys can see at the bottom on the x-axis, I have the days that the contract has been live. Now, the data that I'm tracking for the payout metrics is a data from the website go.hex.com. And the other stuff that I'm using, and you know what, now that I realize it, I just copy pasted the source information here. That stuff is wrong as hell, but that's okay. I'll fix it. But all of this stuff is just the stuff from the site. So I just literally took it, threw in an Excel file, and made this, and that's it. What is it like? Maddie is a fool. What's up, Maddie? Oh man.
I'm just telling it like it is, man. It's fun.
Yeah, exactly.
You were selected at this time, man, for this role.
Yeah, I mean, it's funny because I spent so many years just doing this crap and not even caring because I just do this for fun. I don't, I'm a weird guy. What can I say? So this chart is showing basically a closer view of the payout metrics as far as what's happening with the payout per T-share, which is the pink line, and what's happening with the total T-shares, which is the yellow line. Now, as you guys see, the total T-shares from big payday to now have essentially collapsed by a factor of what, 4, 5, right? A factor of 4 because it went from 50 to 10. So with that, the payout increased, right? And it probably went from, looks like 1 to 5, also almost 6. So what that's kind of detailing is like with the less, wow, this is crazy. Less T-shares equals more HEX paid out, which equals higher value in T-share price, right? Because there's less T-shares to go around. And then by default, the system is giving more HEX because that's part of that exponential functionality embedded in the T-share rating mechanism, as I explained earlier. So we're gonna keep moving now. So again, this is data that's coming from the go.hex.com home tab, where it's just giving those regular metrics. All right, so yeah,
this is a good one.
This is the crazy chart, right? Because this one just looks like it's not believable whatsoever. But this is why I went over what an index was earlier, and let me just go back to that just so we can go over it again one more time. So an index allows for an apples-to-apples comparison of 2 or more stream returns, right? And the index always starts from 0 unless otherwise stated. And basically what we're doing now is we're going to look at exactly what happened from the inception of the system to now, right? And what happened from the inception of the system to now is that everything went up crazy ridiculous, right? The total number of T-shares went up 2,159%, which is the yellow line. The daily payout went up 11,493%. The payout per T-share as a sum, right? All of the T-shares paid out by the system is 132,260%. This is just insane because these are real numbers. Like
that's one T-share.
Yeah, this
That's
is
all
just
T-shares. That's all
that's
T-shares.
no. This is one T-share. All T-shares paid. All HEX paid out per T-share.
That's crazy, bro.
Yes, this is just one T-share. Just one T-share. Exactly.
Yeah, man. But just the shape of the curve, man. And it's like everybody,
I mean,
dude.
look at what
Everybody that
happened
forgets
after Big
their
Payday.
private key and can't get their end stakes, and like that's just gonna
Oh
build up over
man,
time. And like the penalty,
yes,
the bonuses or like the hidden ones that you don't think about are gonna add up in ways that you can't even imagine.
correct.
Until people value this thing for what it is, right?
Uh-huh. I mean, it's just that thing,
Dude,
right?
oh, that is
It's
such a good implementation. That putting that
yeah,
in where people that leave their stakes, they bleed out.
bleed out.
That one
Yeah,
and the
that is.
pre-penalty, like,
So
woo.
let's talk about the incidentals because people always come at us with, oh, so why is this so good? So let's talk about that for a little second. Let's talk about all the penalties that people get when they stake into the system. So a staker gets. Let's talk about all the things a staker gets. How about that? A staker gets all of the inflation. A staker gets all of the penalties from an emergency end stake that doesn't meet the time requirements to emergency end stake safely, which is at least 50% of your time to get your capital back. You get all of the hex from, like we just noted, the bleeds, right? Like, so it's all of these things in the system. And if I miss anything, please let me know because there's just so much, right? That it's hard to
That
catch it
dude that
all.
nuked 2,000,000 hex the other day and paid $140 to do it. Like, what the hell? He either got
Yeah.
hacked or he didn't know what he was doing.
I don't know. I mean, some of these emergency on stakes makes me wonder what's going on out here. Like there was one today where the guy had like maybe 60 days out of like a 400-day stake left. And I was like, what? And then he got like 8,000 hex out of like 120,000 or some crazy number. I was like, what the, like, what is going on here? Do these people not know about the Staker app?
Actually, you know what? It's a serious concern, and I almost feel like the
Yeah,
front end should give. There should be a second level of confirmation because I mean a third level because like people don't get it. There's no. It's not clear enough. Clearly, because people are doing this,
I guess
or they just
not,
don't
man.
value it, man. And you know what? That's just gonna make this thing move faster. The more people that just fall away to the wayside, just gonna make the thing grow faster. So
Yeah,
that's why we're out
well,
here
I mean,
fucking preaching every night because we're like, hey, hello, like this is how the system works. It's
yeah,
super
and that's the
valuable.
funny
Don't go
thing.
lose your, don't lose your 2010 bitcoins. You know, it's like
Yeah, it's
there's
crazy,
half as
dude.
many of them in T shares.
Yo, half, half, less than half,
At
really,
max
but
supply. That's at max supply. We're not even there yet for
at max
BTC, and 5
supply.
million are gone forever. So it's like,
Yeah. Well, you know what's funny? So oh, we're gonna get to that. Let me save it. I'm gonna save it. I'm gonna save it.
all
So
right,
we're
all
going to
right.
the next chart. We're gonna go to the next chart. All right. This chart is displaying the payout per T share sum. Now this is just a sum. So you have received 1,452 hex per T share all time. All right, there you go. Hex is at 5,700%, as we detailed earlier. And now this is kind of a cool thing that kind of is weird to look at, but it's the payout per T-share index, and that number is detailing the rate of change since inception in the payout per T-share. And as we noted earlier, it's gone up from a factor of 5, right? And you can kind of see it, how it's also shown on the big payday, how we dipped to inception levels, basically, right? Like that bottom of that peak is basically when everybody was staked. And we went from 1 there, which is basically all the way back here, which is basically where we started at, and we're all the way up at 5. So it kind of makes sense that we're back at 532% in terms of what is being paid. So this is kind of what this chart is showing. It's kind of straightforward, but it's a very impactful chart. And that's like the great thing about Hex. All of the charts are very impactful because they're giving you the reality of the system, right? It's not some random equation. It's really what's going on. It's what's happening. This is these are the properties of the system, right? And that's what I think is important to highlight about Hex. Now this is most people's favorite chart, especially Kareem. Shout out to him. This is the T-share rate, which is the equivalent of the Bitcoin halving for Hex.
And is
And
that
this,
current? It's up.
yeah,
It's up a few hundred.
yeah,
Wow,
yeah.
that was crazy from yesterday.
That's today.
Like
Yeah, I mean
16
that's
to
from yesterday.
16.
Sorry, yeah, that's from yesterday. Yes, and the
Yeah.
APY for today is at 37.81. So it's a good day if you're staked. So let's keep it moving. So what we're gonna do now is we're gonna equate Hex's T shares to Bitcoin's miners, right? Because that's what's important here. This is what's important. This is what it's all about. This is what people do not understand. So my objective here is to try to connect the dots. I hope to not fail. If it's not being clear, please let me know in the chat. I really want this to be as clear as possible because this is what's going to help everybody understand what it is that they're doing when they're staking. And the reason I think this might make it easier is because who doesn't know what a Bitcoin miner is or does, right? I think we all know what a Bitcoin miner is or does. So, let's do it. Hex T shares initially started at a value of basically $2.18 after its first day of trading. And I got that from GRAPHHEX.com, or sorry, GRAPHHEX.ROCKS. And as I've said many times before, the only halving, quote unquote, happened on November 19th, 2020, which was big payday. And the importance for that is to say that now the only future inflation that's going to come into the system is going to come through the inflation mechanism, which is 3.69%. And that's pretty much it. And whatever the T-shares does in terms of the equations at the end of end stakes, and that's it, right? So that's technically the only inflation you're going to have, and that is literally the equivalent of the halving or of the halvings for Hex, literally. So every time a stake ends, it's the same thing as mining a block.
Dude, I just thought of a good parallel. So if you go to a job and you get paid an hourly wage of $15 an hour, or in this case, a certain amount of hex per day, your time frame's different, but it's the same concept. You're
Yeah.
getting paid. Your job is to hold up the price of hex. Okay, that's your job. That's the only job you have in hex, is to hold up the price of it. So the system pays you at a rate proportional to the inflation and your percentage that you get on the inflation, which is a constant, 3.69%. So the T-shares is just a unit of measure. It's a function. It's a multiple of the share rate. So if you have 100 T-shares, you get 5.85 coins is like the average right now per day. Every day at 6 o'clock. That's what you're getting paid. So your daily wage times the number of shares you have, but those shares get more and more expensive over time. And the reason why they have to get more expensive is because those T-shares you bought 3 years ago are going to pay you interest that's unattainable anymore. The dollar value of that interest is going to be so high that the T-share itself has to be more expensive than the amount it's paying out. Otherwise, it's like, that's why collateralizing hex would be an interesting concept somehow, or being able to borrow against it somehow. Because you could just sit these 15-year stakes that are outperforming any kind of interest you'll owe on a loan.
Right. Yeah, I get that.
It's an interesting topic.
I just don't.
Going back to the
T-shares think. No, go ahead. Go ahead.
Well, just going back to T-shares, like, I mean, quickly, it's like it's a production mechanism, and you have a job, and your job is to hold up the price of hex.
Right.
That's it. Because security is already paid for. Security is paid for by ETH and ETH miners.
Right. Because they're getting you to the point where you're staked. And then the T-shares are just doing all the work.
Those Bitcoins, though, somebody's got to pay for equipment. Somebody's got to pay for electric. Someone's got to do the work to produce them, to dump them on your head and pollute the environment, as Richard likes to say.
Right. Right. So
the halvings and hex, right? Those are important because they're all the time. Whenever somebody ends a stake, it's a halving. Theoretically, it's not an actual halving. It's a propping up the cost of T-shares gets more expensive when that happens.
Right. And exactly. And so to ensure the
Bitcoin network, right, where it's like the opposite, where it's like they take away the miners' revenue. They're like, screw you, we're taking away your revenue, by the way. And if you didn't make money, you're screwed. And if you can sell your equipment and maybe make money back, good for you. But you're on your own. Hex takes care of you. It supports you and embraces you and caresses you, and it's very comfortable on the beach. I'm telling you, come to the beach.
It is literally
it's beautiful over here.
Literally. So like I stay here to ensure longer pays better. A pricing mechanism is built into the contract in the form of T-shares, right? And what happens is that when a stake ends, the gains for the stake are determined in the form of a share price, which becomes the latest T-share price. And that's what I've been talking about this whole time, right? So every time you end the stake, your bonuses are calculated, your interest is calculated, whatever additional rewards that are tied to your contract staking period of time are paid to you at that ended point in time, right? So when you mint your hex after your stake ends, meaning you press end stake and you actually submit that transaction and you mint those coins, and now all of a sudden they pop up in your wallet. What's happened now is that piece of that T-share is now valued at that hex dollar value, right? Which includes the interest plus bonuses and rewards, right? So that's why the T-share value goes up. Does that make sense to everybody in the chat? Let me know if it does or if it doesn't, because I can explain it again, because this is really the simplest explanation that I've heard.
It's the most important thing to get.
Yeah, because this really is the most important thing to get.
Because once you get it, you won't find any other cryptocurrency a financial asset anymore.
Yeah,
you'll have a store of value in Bitcoin, and that's it.
Because the T-share rate is really, the T-share rate is that thing. It's that thing that makes it, right? It's that thing that makes it. So, like in Bitcoin, you have a halving every 210,000 blocks. And like I just said, a halving in HEX occurs every time a significant quantity of T shares are priced at the end of a stake. That's significant to understand. That's why we harp on those big bars in that stake chart, right? This is exactly why, because once that significant quantity of T shares are repriced at the end of an end stake, at the end of a stake, that's going to just dramatically increase the value of HEX, because guess what? Now you have all these HEX in the system. And we know what happens when inflation hits the system. We've seen it in Bitcoin this whole time. And that's what this is all about, right? Like we're here for that. So that's why I want to make sure everybody understands that's what this chart is showing.
It's kind of
Right?
like Bollinger Bands, if you imagine it that way. Like when somebody like when a whale ends a stake, the upper band goes up in value because HEX gets more expensive, and then theoretically, coins get dumped because an stake ends. So the lower band is the HEX price going lower, and they diverge from each other. But it's like there's something that keeps them tied together. So they want to reunite. They want to come back together. So the Bollinger Bands will widen out when a big whale ends stake, and that's the inflation moment where it's a double effect where things get more deflationary and things get more inflationary at the same congruent point in time. And then they
Right.
go apart and then they come back together at a higher price point. So effectively the T-shares drag the price of the HEX up with it as adoption goes on. It gets exponential and builds by a
Right.
function of the square two or whatever you said it was from a couple minutes ago.
Right. Yeah.
I'm not a
And
math mind,
that's
but
yeah, no, but that's cool. It doesn't matter. It literally doesn't matter, right? All that matters is that we know what happens. And that's the important thing. Like at the end of a stake, it just goes up, right? Whatever
right.
happens in the system, like it just goes up, right? And now the thing that we have to understand is that this is just something that if we look back, right, at the charts, and Kareem says this all the time, it's the start of a parabola, right? Now, if we were to zoom out, we have to remember the staking length, the standard point in the standard time frame for this product is 15 years. Okay. Now, what I want people to understand is that there's a reason this pink line is hugging this yellow line, right? That's not a coincidence. Right? Like this is what that's paying you, and you guys heard just what Axis just said, right? And it's the same thing that the stake end function is doing. It's repricing the T shares every time, and in conjunction with that, it's dragging up the value of HEX. Again, it's not a coincidence, right? That the value of HEX is rotating around these values.
It's going at a 45 forever, and it's going to fluctuate slightly off the mean,
Right.
but it's only going to be price of HEX goes down, T-shares goes up, they go away from each other, they come back together, and then maybe there's a crossover. But when it gets over when HEX gets overvalued, people will start to end stake and dump, and then it'll cross back the other way. It's just like an RSI, still like a Stoch RSI thing.
Right.
But like it's an
Right.
indicator in and of itself. It's crazy how it itself as a system on the chart can be an indicator of itself. It's like
Straight
all
up.
built into the same whole. Like that, I keep nailing that point because it's so important to know that like nothing like it's existed. I don't think like that on that
No,
level
I've
of
never seen anything like it. Never. Because
like it forces people to think more about their money, which is like huge.
yes. And legacy finance, and Richard says this all the time, right? Regular fixed income products, you don't have to keep it, right? Like the whole time. You can you can sell it at any point in time. Those markets are technically liquid, right? Like liquid 100% of the time, meaning that if you can find a buyer or somebody willing to sell, if you're trying to buy, you can transact, right? You don't have to wait an X period in time. Like you don't have to. And in HEX, that optionality isn't there. It's removed because staking, right? And here's the thing, right? Like I have to like explain this again. Like, the whole purpose of this game is to get rich, wealthy, right? Like, everybody just saw what happened in Bitcoin, right? Like, this is what everybody wants to replicate. This is why there's so many projects out there, right? Now, there's only one product, but there are many projects out there. Again, a lot of projects, only one product. Buyer beware. So, this is why I highlight all of these important things about Hex. Like, there's so many obvious things that just make it work. And this T-share rate is just that, right? Like, just look at that yellow line. It starts with that slope, right? Then it has that jump up because of big payday. And now it's a constant slope, upward slope higher, right? And the rise over run is more steeper now than it was prior to big payday. So I think what we can expect moving forward from here is just more of these ratchetings higher of the T-share rate. But the question is, how high, how fast, and how will this actually take Hex, right? Because this is kind of crazy. Because I literally just broke it down. Like, now I know exactly, like, right, we see the $210 value for T-share here, right? Like, that means that we're a hop, skip, and a jump away from 256, which is a potential stopping point.
You in?
But
Sorry.
once we get above that, no, you're good. You hear me?
Yeah, I'm good. I'm gonna go hit the bathroom quick. Keep rolling.
All right, no problem. But once we get above that 256 level, right? What should happen is that we should get above there, break above, pull back, test it as support. If we are going to set a new floor in price, it would be there. And then from there, we would see how price would react to that level. And then that would give us a good sign as to whether price is being accepted higher or not. And then if so, right, that's basically going to open up the gates for a significant move higher. And that's kind of the thing that I'm expecting, assuming that the math does happen to carry out with respect to the T-share rate. Because, again, that's really all it's about. If the T-share rate happens to dictate something different, then, the numbers are going to change. I mean, this is math. This is not, what I'm trying to make up or anything like that. I'm just going by what the charts are saying. So that's all I can really do. So that's kind of like why I wanted to explain the charts, the T-share rates, T-shares, relate them to Bitcoin, kind of help you guys have a clearer understanding of what exactly it is you're buying here. What's the value proposition for Hex, right? The value proposition is that every time you stake, the longer you stake, the better off you are versus everybody else, right? Because what's happening is that you're just sitting there this whole time collecting while everybody else is ending a stake. Because, again, it's simply math. And as stakes end and you're just there, you still hold a share, right? Because it's called a T-share. So that T-share is a representation of ownership in the pool, right? So what that means is that you're holding down a piece of the pie. And as more people leave the pie, you're going to essentially be gifted whatever those people are leaving behind. Because, again, it's just one pie. Every economy is one pie, right? If you look at the U.S. economy, there's a reason people can't make any money, right? Because it's not 20, 30 years ago. Government is significantly bigger now than it was then. And every economy is one pie, and the bigger the government gets, the smaller the private sector gets in terms of the pie. So that's why it's so much harder to make money now, because the bureaucracy is infinitely bigger relative to the private sector and the typical freedoms that come with being able to operate a free market, right? I mean, you need a license or whatever to do anything in America nowadays. It's just not what it used to be. So that's just what it is. So, again, this T-share chart is really giving us the path forward, as well as showing us what's currently going on. It's letting us know what the T-share rate is doing with respect to Hex. It's letting us know where the valuation is in the
Basically, your
market
security
currently.
net, it's telling you that you're getting paid more.
Right. I mean, I was gonna get there, but
It's
yeah.
like, by the way, here you go. I
Yeah.
know you're just chilling, but guess what? You're still making
Here's some
money
money.
every day,
Yep.
and it ratchets up every now and then when whales on stake.
Literally.
The rolling wave is gonna make it go up faster. Like that's one thing that people think that those are gonna lead to dumps. As long as they restake every 30 to 90 days in the early days, it's just gonna push the t-shirt rate up faster, which is gonna pull price up faster.
Exactly. And I mean, it's kind of weird, right? Because it's kind of like it's like reverse engineering the price pump, right? Which kind of makes
Yeah,
sense.
or maybe it's just that maybe humans have been really dumb about money for a really long time, and we've gotten to the point in history where we can't afford to make bad decisions anymore, and we kind of got to just take it by bull the bull by the horns and just make a system
Basically.
that works for everybody, you know.
Well, that's basically what
Make
it
good
is, right?
decisions and delay gratification and work on something of value, and then by the way, your money's working for you too. We're not going to steal it all, you
Right.
know.
Right. And what's funny is like that's kind of like my angle. My angle is like I'm here to promote economic freedom because that's what actually leads to freedom, right? It's not believing in that somebody else is going to actually save you, because nobody is going to save you. Period. Just, people can just let that one go.
You
So with
listen on
that,
HEX? Well,
huh?
Maddie, Maddie balling out over here.
Maddie's a
You
Maddie's a
listen to
boss.
your first stream on 8X, you can listen to the whole thing in an hour. It's like a freaking
Yeah,
movie download.
Maddie's the
Plug it in and
boss.
make
He's
some money.
hilarious, man. Maddie's
That's what's up.
hilarious.
Hey, Maddie, thanks for putting that conference together, man. That was really freaking cool.
Maddie's the man, man. Maddie is the man. He is the head streamer in charge. He is the man.
Director of
Shout out
media
to Maddie.
for HEX Corporation.
All right. He's in charge of Hex Corp.
Mhm.
So
Our base
you
is on the
say
moon.
here, was that?
Our base is on the moon.
I thought it was on Mars.
Well, it's supposed to be decentralized, but Maddie's on the moon.
Oh
He bolts
man.
back to Earth from time to time, but he's paying with
Yeah,
his future Hex gains that he developed after recreating time travel, and now he just has fun coming back here and adding T-shares.
oh man. We have lots of bases.
Ooh, shit. That was nice.
Oh man.
Yeah, man. You guys are cool. That's what's up.
Yeah,
Appreciate you all.
bro.
It's been real.
Yeah,
I'm
I
just
mean,
charged for freaking
everybody
sick.
in the Mexican community is great. I hope that
Well, I
everybody,
wouldn't say everyone.
well, you know what I mean. Most people, most people, most
I
people.
have no beef with anybody. That was just a dig at everyone that left in the first 3 months, I guess.
It's okay. They'll be back. It's fine. It's okay. Because again, right, you have to understand, man, some people don't understand what wealth creation requires, right? Wealth creation requires time. Hex allows you the ability to build that wealth in multiple facets. And one facet is by earning interest, the other facet is by price appreciation. And I just went over how that happens, right? Every time somebody stakes, right, and they end the stake, what's happening at the end of that stake is that that function is conducting all of the math that's supposed to pay you all of your rewards, right? So at the end of that equation, the T share value is repriced based on the quantity of T shares that you own, because that quantity of T shares that you own is a representative portion of the pool that's going to get repriced. And with that, the T share would be repriced because it's just a math function again, right? So every time somebody ends a stake, that function, i.e., the T share value, is being repriced. So that's the only reason the price will always go up. And this is why people have to understand, short stake if you want. Thank you, right? Like, it's not hurting anybody. Everybody benefits from it at the end of the day, especially if you're staked, because what happens is that you just made the values of everybody's T-shares more valuable because you just ended your stake, right? So now the payout increased because there's less T-shares theoretically, but what's happened is that they're more expensive relative to what they just were. So it's not that there's less, it's that they're just more scarce in terms of your ability to get them. right? So it's kind of the same thing, but it's not, because you have to understand the supply demand dynamic, because what that means is that they're still there. You just can't get them. So what that means is you can get priced out further. That's why I want to highlight that, right?
I mean, it makes you want to bring more dirty fiat into the system because it's like a purifying machine. Like it's just,
Correct.
I don't know, it's just money. You want your money to work for you, or do you want your money to work against you, or you have to put a lot of human energy and effort into watching charts to make sure you can make your return. Otherwise, this way, it's especially again hammer home the whole point of it. Like there's always going to be meat on the bone for years and
Yep.
years to come.
Yep.
But these early T shares are that much more important because I have a
Supremely
feeling to
important.
get to 10 cents into a dollar is like to draw in the eye. Like it's going to need to do some cool stuff on the price chart. If it does that,
Extremely.
it's going to bring in everybody. And when it brings in everybody, your T shares are going to be untouchable. Like they're going to be like golden
And
armor, and everyone else is going to be running around in like blue tier gear or something.
it's gonna be
B shares.
so crazy.
Yeah.
I can't even imagine. I really can't imagine, because the thing about it is you're talking about, wow. I mean, right now, T shares are in the trillions, right? Because they're not that expensive yet, right? So, I'm as I sit here and I think, I'm realizing that I could probably create a
Okay.
table showing
Yeah.
the dollar value for the T share, and like what the
Yeah, there's
quantity
multiple
becomes.
variables. There's a USD value of There's three pairs working. There's the USD value of T shares, the USD value of Hex, the Hex T share pair. Those three working in concert to create this. Like a three-man weave in basketball. It's like that,
Right, right.
but they're all working together at a 45-degree angle to the upside. And the
Always. It's a
dollar's
beautiful.
working against itself, so I mean it's a lost cause, bro. So really, all you have is just a two-man weave.
Right. Which is a beautiful thing.
Yeah. You can play
Jesus.
that
I
whole
mean,
game of like, it's just have more T-shirts now, man, and then you don't have to think about shit.
at all.
No, I went all in, man. I told you I rode 13K BTC up to 30K, swapped it for Hex. I bought ETH at 365 before the pump and 585 before the pump, and they both gained up to a grand. I switched them to Hex.
Yeah.
Dude, I was a BTC maxi and ETH miner since 2017. Like, dude, those two coins are the backbone of crypto. But Hex is the
Right.
only true financial instrument. So if you want to get more of those
Yeah.
two backbone coins, what are you
That's
going to do
it.
to get there? This is
You
your
got
shot.
no option. Yeah, you got no option. You really got no option.
I
Um,
mean, no, your
you know.
option is this. It is go sweat in front of the screen all day and trade. And like, good luck. By the way,
Right.
trading 10x leverage BTC now is a fucking treat compared to what I was dealing with back then at
Oh
5K, where
man.
you had these really small volatility ranges on 100x leverage. Man, that was tough. But I made some gains, and then I lost, a decent chunk. And I was just like, dude,
Yeah.
enough of this. Because then I
Yeah,
watched it go
it's
to 13K, and then it went to 14. I knew I had to get it in like deep
right.
and let it nut because it was time to go. And you could smell it in the air, man. When Michael Saylor said what he said and came out there in public and did everything, it's like this bull market
Game
is
over.
on. And
Yeah, it
then,
was game over.
and then, perfectly timed, BPD happens,
Right.
and the rally starts, and it's like, okay, this thing is gonna be okay. It's gonna survive. Okay, load up. Like, get the fuck out of the other shit. Load up. That's what it was for me.
Oh
I mean, I was a
man.
day one and a day two, and I staked them out. I got 2 year and a 6 year, and they're just modest bags. But all it was
Damn.
2 ETH to me then. But I was like, if this goes, it'll
Yeah.
go. And
Right.
after
That's
BPD,
crazy.
that was the true test, man. Now
Yeah.
it's been confirmed to me that this is gonna moon.
Well, yeah, for sure. It's I mean, I just
Don't get
explained it.
discouraged if some coins outpace it on the bull market because look at they have more accessibility to them. So I don't know. That's working with them. We're being gate kept pretty hard. It's gonna
Well,
affect
I mean,
the adoption a little bit, but really it's not. If you look at our average volume, like it's around
yeah, I don't I
50K
like to say it all the
a day,
time.
or every 6 hours.
It's yeah, I like to say it all the time. It's not really much of a factor Primarily because it's something that's always going to bring in people because there's too many of us, and it's too good to stay a secret for too long. And there's a lot more people that know about it now than did last month. Like, I can see the difference, right? Like, and we can, like, if you look at the data, like, it's just, you can see it, man. Like, there's just a lot more going on now than there ever was before. It's just significantly
The
different.
price action on the chart looks completely different, dude.
Yeah,
I mean,
that's
you're
what I'm
still
saying.
expecting a
Like,
huge move, but like it's so much more volatile now. Like, I mean,
yeah,
like
it's just
it's like, man, it's got these levels. Like, look at the chart right now, man. Like, there's the predetermined. There's like these defined levels, and it just walks like a staircase. It's like a staircase. We went down the
that's it.
staircase for 3 levels. We bounced off that lower dip, and then we rallied that 49% in that day and a half or whatever, and it was sick. That was really sick to see. I was like, wow, that was
Wow.
a huge testament, that we did that
Yeah.
quick 49% pump, no problem.
Yeah, for
I
sure.
I thought we were gonna have to like go do a wick down to like 0045 or 0055 for sure. Never had to
Yeah.
come. It never had to come. You wanna know why? Because we don't have a bunch of greedy people. People were buying all the way down that dip. I know
Yeah,
for a
they were.
fact. Guess who bought at 1.4 pennies? A little bit, me. Guess who bought at 1.2 pennies? Me. Guess who bought at 007? Me. A ton. And like I was here freaking buying all these dips. It's like, because to me, anything around a penny is gold. It's freaking gold, bro. You just want
Right.
to get more T-shares. You don't matter. You really don't care about anything else.
No. Because the t-shirts are what's going to reprice everything.
Hmm.
The t-shares are what's going to reprice everything, because the t-shares are what determine the value of everything in the system.
Hmm.
And that's why it's important to
Only
understand
constant, right?
t-shares. Yeah. It's so crazy. It's really, really crazy. So crazy. Because the t-shares, I mean, again, just to explain it one more time so that everybody understands, just so we're all on the same page. Every time a stake ends, what happens is that the total valuation of that stake is repriced with respect to the quantity of T shares that the person owns for that respective stake, right? And that equation, that portion of the total system is repriced, and with that, then the system is repriced proportionally, right? It's just a product function. So what happens is you have that little T stake, however big it is, right? Whether it's a billion hex or a million hex or whatever, it's going to have its relative effect on the system, right? And that's what's important to know here, because what that means is that no matter how big or small an end stake is, it's going to have its impact, right? So it's just a matter of learning how the system is going to work
Yeah, I mean, just look
versus
at the end state chart on HEX.VISION. That'll give you a clear
right.
marker of where
Right, and
T-shares
we
are
and
going to
we
get
look
smacked.
at it, yeah, and we look at it all the time, right? So it's just like literally like, what are we going to exactly see that day? Because there's one thing to, because here's the thing. I remember when I was looking at the chart like that, and like, let's pull it up, because we always randomly have to pull it up. Give me a second.
Okay, show the people, brother. They want to see with their eyes.
Yeah, where'd it go? Ah, here we go. What's that chart? Hex Vision.
Yep. I like to right now. I'm addicted to looking at from current time to 90 days out, because
Yeah,
to
that's
me, the
basically
bull
what I look
market
at
for this coin starts March
now.
15th. March
Yeah,
15th.
basically now.
I
Yeah.
mean, we're rolling up to it, right? But the real crazy stuff's gonna happen in sync with that big end stake.
Yep. Because that's gonna reprice the whole system in a major way.
100%.
In a major way. Let's see what we got here.
Most of the coins are liquid, so the question is, what price are people willing to take?
Right.
I always like to think of it like 40% of the coins are liquid all the time right now, which is cool with me. Dump away. I'll buy your shit at 80% lower, 70% lower, 60% lower,
Dude, not a
50% lower.
problem. Yeah, not a
It ain't no
problem.
deal, man. It ain't no thing, man. Just dump them,
Mm-mm.
give them to me.
Yeah, I mean that's the thing, man. Like I just want to highlight this again. Hex is the only market I've seen where people are excited for a dip.
Yeah,
So
it's cool. It's cool, man.
yeah, I
It's
mean,
cool, man.
I don't, I've only been in markets for 10 plus years and I've never seen this. Not a long time, but not a little bit of time either. And I've studied markets from Japan to America. So I'm telling you guys, this is just non-existent. I don't even know how else to say it, but it's just non-existent. So if we look at the stake expiring at the end of February on the 26th, it's a pretty sizable sum, approximately 995 million hex, which equates to 273, I guess, thousand T shares. I don't really know how to read this yet. T shares expiring, is that accurate? 273,000 T shares, is that right?
I think it's million, ain't it? Oh, T-shirt. Sorry, I thought you said hex. I can't see it, but yeah, let me zoom this bitch in.
It looks like it's a 273 comma
Yeah,
254.
273,000 T-shirts are expiring.
Okay,
What's the
okay.
big one? What's the big one? I gotta know.
The big one is
So you're looking at
615,746.
almost losing a million across the next 3 months. That's to bring us down to
Correct.
9 million, or not
Yep.
9.8 million, roughly, right? If they don't restake,
Something
which
like that,
come on,
yeah.
they're gonna restake.
Well,
They're just
yeah. I
gonna
mean,
be able
so
to restake less
let's
unless
talk
they go
about
long.
that, right? Let's talk about that, right? Because today we saw a transaction where somebody, let me see if I can find that tweet actually. Hex will buy. Let me look at this damn thing. So somebody staked and somebody restaked, or somebody ended a stake and then somebody restaked. And when they restaked, I'm trying to remember.
Dude, this shit's pumping right now. That's sick.
Is it? Damn.
I
Sorry,
mean, it's just
guys.
strong, man. It's just strong.
Sorry,
26-hour chart
guys.
looks
I
good.
think Discord Syndicate was also on earlier too. So that's two hex streams going at the same time, bro. It's just magic bound to happen. It's impossible. It's just impossible. All right, let's see. Where are you, Will? Damn it.
Yeah, we'll have to find our own slot, maybe. I don't know, or I'll just jump on everybody's stream.
It's just
Crypto
it's too
everywhere.
many. It's too many, bro. It's like there's only so much we can do.
We're offering different stuff, though. I think we're more on the
Yeah,
analytical side of it, and the
correct.
philosophy behind
Yeah,
it and stuff. This system is cool, man. It's fun to think about. I enjoy thinking about it for a while. I mean, maybe this honeymoon phase will last, a little bit longer, and then I'll just be able to walk away from that part of it and just accept it as truth. I
right,
really want to use this funding to like do things with it, right?
right,
Community
right,
stuff, build out apps around. It'd be cool. I mean, it'd be cool to see like I was saying, a unified website with all the great features of the community all in one place. I think that'd be useful.
right. Yeah, that would be cool. Because you just don't see that in crypto at all. Um, so the one I wanted to talk about, the one that I saw that caught my eye was this one. Because a little while later, somebody came back. I'm not sure it was the same guy or not. I'm just looking right now. Um, that stake ended 27 million. Yeah,
Hans
no, it
made a good
wasn't
point.
somebody.
I didn't know that, but it makes sense now because I think when you make a key, it sandboxes it to an offline area, right? Is that what you're saying?
Hold on, let me see which Hans. If you're gonna put your
Yeah.
MetaMask into a hardware wallet, you're okay. So Hans says if you're going to put your MetaMask into your hardware wallet, you're breaking the security aspect that produces the key offline. Yeah, that's true. Rather start a new ladder on a hardware wallet. Yeah, that's true because then you're exposing the key, right? And I think that that's exactly the important thing to understand, right? And this is kind of why, like, I made it, like, I kind of went out of my way to kind of try to understand how the internet worked because there's just a lot of fallacies around cybersecurity out there. You know, anytime you're just exposing any piece of data to um just anytime you're exposing any piece of data to just any externalities, right? Any network, any open network lines. What's happening then is that you just open the window, right? So you're exposing yourself and whatever have you, your system, to that externality that you didn't want to expose it to. And that's what Hans is saying there. So that's exactly why you have to be careful with how, right? You look at cybersecurity, what it is you're actually doing and whatnot. And now it seems like what I thought I saw is no longer there. Oh no, never mind. Never mind. I don't think it's the same person though, but I just thought it's interesting to bring up because we saw this stake end the payout. I don't know what the shares were because it doesn't list it, but we got 27 million hex served 45 days, and the payout was 451,000 hex. I'm sure there's a way to do the math on that that I just haven't figured out yet. But then we have this stake, which I think, yeah, it happened a little after this one. This one was, oh wow, I guess I just wasn't paying attention. So 4:09 p.m. and this one was at 8 p.m. And it's 19 million for 268 days, 1,383 T shares. Now, this is 268 days.
Or girl, whoever, lady, man, whatever.
Yeah.
After life.
268. What day is the day? Today is 2/11. 268 days is about 8 months or so. Is that right? 30 days. Yeah. It's about 8 months or so, 9 months. So that's basically July. 2 plus 9 is 11. November. So in November, right? So now we know we have a big stake to look at in November because 1,300, T shares is not a little bit. That's a lot of T shares.
Yeah, dude.
So, that's going to reprice. This guy just staked, look at this, 180 million hex for 63 days, 12,000 T shares. That's 2 months from today. That's in April. So just when people thought they had March 15th to worry about, here's another date you have to worry about, right? So this is, again, the game theory just working in the system, telling you, yo, you cannot wait. You have to act now. Wait, longer pays better. Don't wait for tomorrow. Stake today. All of those good nibbits that the system gives you, kind of forces you to do. And I mean, it's just kind of crazy. People keep selling and the market just keeps going up. It's kind of crazy. Somebody sold what it looks like for 6 million USDC today at some point. Somebody tweeted boo. That's funny. I mean, it's actually not boo. It's okay. We want these people out now. We don't want them selling at 10. We want them buying at 10. So it's okay that they sell now. The sooner they sell, the better. And that's kind of the thing, right? And Richard talks about this all the time, and it's very important because it's very true. Because it's these people that aren't going to allow us to get up to $1 and then 2 and then 4 and then 8. You get what I'm saying? So it's all of that because these are going to be the people that are going to be so impatient that they can't just sit there and wait to just. I mean, look at this. I mean, hopefully this was a $500 investment for this individual. I hope there was a good reason that they sold. Who knows? But this one is just wow. But so now we have this chart goes all the way out, right? So we have 425, 426. Like if we look at all these stakes, all these dates with these 256 million hex, you got 300 million hex, you got another 200 million here, 200 million, 200 million, right? So I think that's going to be like a good measure right there, that 200 million mark, where it seems to be enough to get over the rest of the surrounding stake the ending stakes, but those seems like those would be that's like the that number that will kind of drive the t-shirt rate up a little bit, just a little bit, enough to make it annoying for somebody that's waiting for the dip. You get what I mean?
Yep. I'm just thinking about how the as more people come onto the system, the liquidity is gonna have to go up.
Yeah, it's gonna go up by default because the value, like it's kind of a weird thing. Um, so at first Hex had too much liquidity because the value wasn't there, right? And what I mean by that is the number of participants wasn't there. Um, Let me see something. Yeah, it's the number of participants weren't there. Now the network is bigger, and as the network increases in size, right, by default the valuation is going to get bigger in size, and thereby the liquidity is going to get bigger in size. So it's kind of one of those things that is a symbiotic
I have a
function
question,
of the
Maddie.
network effect.
Maddie, if you're in here, do you know whether or not from the beginning, I know there was more coins staked, like a ton more coins were staked, but like, was there more users, or are there more users now, with just less staked? And when I say user, I mean a trader or a staker.
Stakers.
No, a trader or a staker, because liquid. There's most of the coins are liquid.
Yeah, yeah.
So I wonder though. I
Oh,
wonder why people aren't staking or where those coins are.
Maddie
If
says
there's
more
more users.
users now. Yeah, I
I know
thought
there's
so
more.
too.
Yeah. Okay. And I was gonna say I don't know there's more people with addresses, but like he was saying how he's got like he's in control of like 300 million addresses himself or something like that. He runs like a
Right,
side. He's got a side business where he just like deals out addresses. Like, oh, you want to stake here? You want to stake here? He's handing out stakes all over the place.
right. I
He's
mean,
a,
it's
he's a,
so.
he's a manager. He's a stake manager, bro. Decentralized stake manager, bro.
You keep coming up with them all,
I'm just,
huh?
I'm just here. I just work here.
Oh man, that's too
85% of
funny,
coins are with
dude.
the OA.
85%.
It's pretty high.
That's crazy.
It's pretty high.
I mean, that's some serious security. I mean, that's some more security though, right? Because we have to think about what the OA is there to do, right? And the OA is there to basically protect the bag, right? Like they're not there to dump it. They're not there to do anything crazy. Um, Nothing like that. So, you know, I don't know, man. I feel like I talk about this all the time, but it's like these are important things we have to highlight over and over because I have to make sure the correct information gets out there. You know, and again, the OA is just there. Yeah, price
Dude,
controls, man.
Stompy. Stompy. No, no, no. It doesn't. Value. Okay. Let me be very
Wait,
clear.
so
The
you said
value of the
T-share price controls hex price in terms of value? No, 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 no.
no
Yeah, I'm
value is
sorry.
inherent as an emergent property of what is the whole system as hex, the smart contract. The value is already, you know, trillions of dollars of value, but it's just not been realized yet. And it needs certain gears and working mechanisms within the contract, such as T-share ratcheting price, that produces and manifests that valuation. The value is that hex exists, and it is its emergent properties of all of the pieces to the puzzle, right? It just
Right,
hasn't been realized. There's not enough users. The network effect hasn't taken full effect.
right. Not yet.
But yeah,
So,
value is inherent, so it's like something you could see way before price shows you.
right.
It's like this, brother. Like as soon as Elon said, "I bought 1.5 billion dollars of Bitcoin,"
Big,
it flipped a switch in the retail mind. I
yeah,
swear to
made
God,
them think serious.
everybody who has been fighting me on crypto for years flipped when they heard that. It's like, oh, I knew that was gonna happen. It's like, oh, did you?
Sure they
Okay,
did.
that's
Love
cool.
it. Love it, love it, love it. Hilarious.
But it's important, right? Because that's how we get new people in. It's like,
Yeah,
oh,
yeah, sure.
somebody has to be the signal.
Yeah.
So you think that dump's coming? It could be, bro. Bitcoin dump could be coming, but it's not going to be like a brutal. 38K will hold for sure.
Yeah, I
For
mean,
sure it'll
yeah,
hold.
I don't think it's gonna be brutal at all either. Because again, there's a lot of people in the system now, and they're not, and like you said, they're not selling. People understand that the objective here is to hold, no reason to sell, at least for the most part. So that's kind of important. Now, what'll get interesting is what's going to happen now that you have all these institutions in the way. they want to kind of play with derivatives and whatnot. When the Bitcoin futures came out back in 2015, I think it was. I don't remember exactly when it was. The market basically topped out that day.
CME futures, yeah, that came out in December of 2017.
Oh, 2017. There you go. So they basically topped out that day. And long story short, never saw that 19,000 whatever price again. Like that was literally the last time it was seen until the other day. And interestingly enough, that didn't happen this time with ETH futures. It's been a few days. I'm shocked still. They usually do this stuff, in a timing fashion, and it just didn't happen this time. So I'd be interested to see exactly what's going to happen with Ethereum moving forward because of that, right? Because you didn't have that removal effect, right? You didn't have it.
Rug pull. Still there, baller? Your mic.
Yeah, you couldn't hear me? Yeah, sorry. It sounded like, I just got a text on somebody telling me that. So what I was saying, sorry about that, guys. So what I was saying is, so like you have this scenario where you have T-shirts coming out, right? You have price going up. You have more HEX getting paid out. You have more people staking. You have all of these things happening all the time to price.
Bonuses,
right?
People forgetting bonuses, right?
And that's the thing. It's like all of these items, they just increase the value because they by default are increasing the value of the T-share.
Right. There are parts of the engine that make this thing show different forms of valuation, like in the in the price, right? And the price realization is the key distinction.
Right. So I talked about this yesterday, but somebody asked me, my boy Bala out in Twitter, G Shing, shout out to him. He asked me, and I like to harp on this now because I've been thinking about it nonstop since he asked me it. And he asked, like, what do you think an institution would be willing to pay for, an earning stream of this type, right? Like, an institution can literally determine their cash flows however they like with this instrument, right? I feel like I'm gonna have to like write a book or something because I don't think people understand like the severity of the seriousness of HEX. Like, dude, this actually pays you more money. Like, for real.
What's the math on how long it would take the system to produce a comparable amount of HEX to what the OA has? So basically bring it to 50-50 so that the OA holds 50% and the world holds 50%.
So if the OA,
I really wish you would just, or it would just at some point distribute those in a different, in additional ways. Let's say the OA stakes but never ends a stake.
So here's the thing. The OA is already doing that in a sense, if you think about it, right? Because when the OA is holding coins and it's allowing the APY to be 40%,
100%,
right?
But if an institution comes in and buys up 40% of coins existing and takes everyone's APY down to nothing, a combative
but the price is going to be the price is going to compensate you for that, so it's not going to matter.
True.
You have to remember that this is an interest rate instrument, and
that part is the key.
Exactly. And that's why I get on these streams, because I know it's hard to grasp, but
there's just so many levels to it, right? Like every time you think you run into a wall, there's more pathways.
I'm still learning. There's certain aspects of HEX that I fully understand, and there's certain aspects of HEX that I do not, right? And that's just the nature of it. Like, this isn't easy to understand, right? But it's not difficult to understand either, right? But it's like there's something very important here, right? Like you have to understand a value proposition, and you have to understand what value is, right? Just because something goes up doesn't mean there's value there. It's just going up. Like we have to understand that, right? It's very important we understand that, because this is like, man, people don't get it. There has never in the history of crypto been a coin with an actual, right, value proposition. Bitcoin's value proposition is scarcity, right? And that's it. It doesn't offer anything else, right? Hex offers that plus an increased value proposition every single day, right? Like it literally pays you every day. It does an airdrop daily. I like to say that all the time. Hex does a daily airdrop. People be waiting for airdrops, but Hex does a daily airdrop, and nobody wants that one. I don't understand.
That's a good way to put it, yeah. By the way,
it's
you get
true.
to fly the drone next week, because I'm getting tired of having to do that, dropping off the packages all night. Bullshit. Santa doesn't even pay that good.
Oh man, yeah, I could imagine. I could only imagine.
Air
Right,
powered
but
shit, dude.
here's the thing, right? So when you're looking at the OA, and like if they hold 85% of the coins, right? Whatever, good for them. But the thing about it is this: when you have an institution step in and they're buying up, say 10%, and they want to stay 10%, that automatically doubles, right? The staking pool to 20%, right? So let me pull up this little graphic. I don't know if I have it saved here. I probably don't. I think I have it in my I thought about it earlier today too, but I just forgot. Let me see here. Nope. So basically what I'm looking for is that graphic where it shows the staking pool and the percentages across the board as far as no, this is not showing. As far as, I'm sorry guys. But I'm just looking for the chart that shows the, oh, I know where I can find it. That shows the staking pool and the APY paid out with respect to the quantity of people staked, basically.
Yeah, you're talking about a pie chart. Somebody have the pie chart that shows
Nah, it's the bar chart, actually, the one that I'm thinking about. And I'm just trying to look for it in my. No. It's like an Excel spreadsheet or something. Hold on. Because I know I have it, but for whatever reason, I can't pull it up. Ah, I found it. Give me a second. Just send it to myself. All right. Dun, 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 dun. Okay. Oops. Image. Okay. So this chart, right? This chart is showing the coin staked percentage of total supply. So right now we're like at 10. That's why we're still in between 41 and 37%, right? We're basically at 9.77. So we're around 37.8, 38 point APY, right? So if this doubles and it goes to 20%, our APY automatically is reduced, right, in half, basically. Right. So what does that mean in terms of T-share? That basically means the T-share price doubled. Right, because
they would have to buy extra amount of coins.
correct.
unless it was money coming from inside the system, and then they wouldn't have had to buy more coins. They would have just restaked.
Well, here's the thing: you're still driving the
Oh, they would have had
value
to buy
up.
the coins because they're new coins. Yeah,
Yeah, you're still driving the
driving the
value up
value up
nonetheless. Yeah,
and the
you're
price
still.
of the coin.
You're still driving the value up. Like you have to like you got to remember, anytime you do anything, you have to own something in order to do it, because you have to have the hex in order to be able to access the T-shares, because the T-shares are not a given, and the T-shares are the value proposition. So it's kind of like the perfect setup, because again, the objective here is to get the value up, right? It's not really anything else. So yeah, man. I mean,
There's only one
I
thing that
think
matters in crypto, and that's mad gains, bro.
right, and I think that's kind of like what I wanted to highlight. I wanted to go over all the charts, kind of give everybody like the goodies, right, and like help everybody understand like what the T-shares, like how they relate
I'm
to.
trying to imagine a world where there's like just a dismal experience in Hex, like where
You
like
know, it's funny,
the
man.
APY is so low and the price is so low. How does that even happen? The
Yeah,
hex price so
it
low
can't,
and and there's too many T-shares in the system.
because of the unit bias. Because of the unit bias, it can't happen,
Right.
right? Like if
Because
you
it
look at
started with trillion shares on one end and one hex at like fractions of a
another,
penny on the other end.
correct?
That's why.
Yes. Because again, it's an evolving system, right? Because if we look at the charts, right, like the APY started at nothing, right, 5% basically, right? And if we go back and we look at the payout per T-share index, right, it went from 100 to less than to 500, right? And again, if we look at the daily payout index, right, like we're at 11,500% basically from the system, right? From 100, right? I mean, like these numbers are crazy, right? Like this is actually happening every day, right? And if you look at the payout per T-share pink line, which is the hot pink one, it looks like it started at around 1 and it dipped to like, yeah, half of 1, which is in line with the 60 cents. And now we're at 5.
I increasingly see $10 hex closer and closer in time, almost like we're manifesting it into reality by talking about it.
Well, I mean, this is the thing. It's about understanding how the repricing mechanism functions. And it's like, we all know how it does innately, but mathematically is the key, because now that I read the little text that explains it, I'm like, oh yeah, 10 is definitely doable this year. All it takes is one fucking whale to fuck it up.
This year?
Yeah, yeah. Could happen.
Damn, son, you fucking bullish as hell, man. Come on.
No, dude, I'm serious. This is math, man.
I feel
All
it,
it
but at the
takes.
same time, I'm like, I'd be happy with like a quarter or 50 cents. But it's like, if it's
But
gonna
that's
do
the
that, why
crazy
not
thing.
more?
That's the crazy thing, right? It
You know
literally
what?
doesn't matter.
I know for a fact that I put too much precedence on the fact that it did 325x last year. Like, who cares? For
That's the
X,
thing.
that's gonna be dismal, dude.
It doesn't matter. Because the beautiful thing about it is, if you're staked, you're making so much gains that it literally doesn't matter.
Yeah, bro. I gotta buy more.
That's that's the crazy thing, right? Like, it's a math problem. It's always a math problem. If you sit there and you break it down and look at it as a math problem, the answer is very easy. And that's why, right, I can sit here and be like, yeah, it's whatever. It doesn't matter. It literally doesn't matter, because at the end of the day, you're going to get what you're supposed to get, and that's the whole point.
Let's
Yeah.
go.
But it's
That's
a
a great
pumping
ride
something?
at Six Flags, by the way.
Oh.
I mean, this guy's talking about a raging bull market, like the first of its kind.
Gotcha. I mean, look,
Dude, I'd love to see this thing go to like $5 or $10 this year and just prove everybody wrong. And just like, would that flip ETH? I think it would.
I mean, it could. It could. It depends on what gets staked ultimately,
Even
because
ETH went to
that's
10K. I mean,
that's what ultimately
1.3
determines
trillion.
the market cap. Was that
Trillion.
for
I'm
what?
trying to figure out what ETH's market cap would be at 10K per ETH. I think it's 129
I don't even know the E supply,
I
so
think it's
I
like
couldn't even
129
answer.
million or something. Fuck, I don't even know. But
if it's 129 million, then yeah, that's like 1.29 trillion, I guess.
yeah. So or it's 170. I don't know. But point is,
It's up there.
I think Hex could flip that, but not this cycle. I don't know, man. It's weird because the unit bias makes the market cap thing it blows it out of the water because it's not comparable to every crypto that came before it.
No, it's not.
And I don't think there's enough U.S. dollars in Tether and DAI and USD coin in the system yet to account for that many trillions of dollars of HEX.
No, there's not, because you have to realize, right? Like the crypto market itself is just like a trillion. It's not really that big.
Yeah, it's tiny.
So
Drop of a
it's really a drop
Bump
of a bucket,
it.
and that's what people have to also understand, right? Like there's a lot going on behind the scenes that and yeah, Crypto 303 is highlighting some kind of whatever news, but I guess it's important for adoption and the network effect and whatnot. And as that MasterCard is going to start accepting, is going to start allowing vendors to accept crypto in terms of payment. And I mean, I'm not ever selling my crypto, but sure, for those that, use it to buy stuff and whatnot. But it's an interesting perspective, right? Because we all know that
By the way, MasterCard's shooting themselves in the foot by doing that because they're gonna have no use in the future because they're putting
yeah,
themselves on a
that I
level
mean,
playing field
clearly,
with like Gemini debit card or like a Gemini credit card or a Coinbase card. It's over for legacy finance, bro. It's over.
yeah, I
Like
mean,
that's a signed off done and
hey,
deal, man. It's over.
more power to them for trying, but I don't really see, like, again, right? Like we have to understand something, right? Like we're holding assets that don't depreciate, that don't deprecate over time. There's a reason that, you know, leveraged loans don't make sense. Like these are functions of systems that are designed to fail. So DeFi needs to let go of a lot of that crap, right? Like we don't need shit like that in DeFi. That's the type of shit that blows up markets. That's not the shit that, and again, this is coming from a person that's worked on Wall Street for 10 years. So I kind of have an idea what the fuck I'm talking about. Like people need to get away from products that are not in line with the design of the system, right? And that's
401k.
right. And that's like if you look at, for example, think about a market like what's a good one? Because this is the thing, there's so many. And it's so hard to pinpoint one because there's so many that are so similar in this fashion. And the thing is that you just can't have a market where you have something like shoot, I don't know what's a good something. Let's see, MasterCard just in search of a new source of FEE payments. Yeah,
Looking for
that's also
tangible
true.
assets or intangible assets?
I mean,
As
we could talk. We could talk corn, right? Like, let's talk corn, right? Like corn is a tangible asset. Corn is something that we all need, right? Like everybody uses corn in some way, shape, or form,
Yep.
right?
Directly or indirectly.
Directly or indirectly, right? Directly or indirectly, whether you know it or not, you
You in your
use corn.
car, an animal you eat, or you eat. Maybe
Yep.
there's like corn stock, like fiber that's made, and it's in clothing or wicker basket. I don't fucking know. I'm just making shit up,
Whatever.
but there's a lot of uses for
Yeah,
corn.
exactly. And the whole point is like all of these things matter, right? They all go into that network effect and how it affects the system, and all of that stuff, right, is
Yeah, but
going
corn
to
has none
tie
of it
it.
because I don't grow my own corn, but I can grow my own
Well,
hex.
sure, that's also true. And that only makes things more expensive, right? Not more valuable, but more expensive, which is also something that's
Okay.
important to recognize. Because like
100%.
we were talking, we were talking about earlier, and there was some confusion with regards to what was value and what was not at a certain point. And the important thing to remember is that we're here to let the protocol do what it's supposed to do, right? And that is to determine the correct rate. And that rate is a function of not just the daily rate repricing mechanism, but it is also a function of how many stakes are ended each day in conjunction with the value of those stakes at the end, right? Because those valuations are really what's going to determine the end price for the T share and thereby the quantity of hex required to acquire the next series of T shares. And that's why it's important to understand that little logic right there. So yeah, bro, I think it was a pretty good chat.
Yeah,
When's
killing
corn
it. I
coin?
feel like we covered a lot of time.
Yeah, we covered a lot of good stuff. If you guys missed the earlier portions of the chat, definitely go back and catch that.
We already make
I'm
corn coin. It's
just
called Bitcoin. It's a commodity. It's traded on the stock exchange.
exactly. I'm trying
Bitcoin.
to keep these. I know people like the long form streams, but I'm trying to keep them to like digestible forms at least. At least 4 hours
Yeah,
or
man. You
less.
gotta densify the information and get it all out there
Yeah,
so the good people can
yeah.
hear it and eat it up.
Yes, exactly, exactly. So, thank you everybody for putting up with my I do what I can because I do work literally up until I'm basically going live. So thank you guys for putting up with the little errors and whatnot in my getting the stream and as well as my charts and whatnot. I'm just trying to get the relevant information out there. Thank you everybody for attending tonight. Spread the good word. Let everybody know that every time a stake ends, we get paid more. Basically, what happens. So,
All right,
with
gentlemen.
that,
Thanks so much. Thanks for bringing me on here, my dude. It was
yeah,
an
thanks a
honest
lot, man.
pleasure getting to meet you finally, and thanks for dragging me on here. Otherwise, it wouldn't
Yeah,
have happened.
brother.
So,
Hey, thanks
it's my
everybody
pleasure.
in the chat. Thanks Access Live.
Yes, sir.
If you
Dale's
guys
the card
are
master, the navigator.
right.
You
um,
you
uh,
you 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 write the maps up, and I'll create the story. All right.
That's right. That's right. Oh, you know what? Do you want to talk about what your part is in the community, if you don't mind, before we close it up? Do you
I
want to
thought I
talk
was just
about that,
using
or
X. I mean, I don't know.
if you're
What are
not
we talking about?
comfortable,
Talking about this
it,
website thing?
yeah, if you want to talk about
Uh,
that.
yeah. I mean, it's an idea, right? I wrote up an outline. I mean, there's people working on the new website right now, and it looks beautiful, and it just inspires me to like take it to a whole new level.
Right. Cool,
I mean,
man.
there's the thought of booting up hex.com and imagining every feature of the Staker app, HEX.VISION data, beautifully presented, social metrics all built into the site, donate buttons, QR codes. I mean, all of it built into one hub or ecosystem would just be a dream come true, and it would literally replace Coinbase because the dexes would be built right in to this
Yep.
thing, to the whole front end. The staking thing could be built all into the front end. I mean, they got a beautiful site going, and that's a lot of engineering work that I would have to find a team to build
Right.
that out with, right? But I have an outline written, and if you guys want to see it, I can post it in the chat here, and we can see kind of what everyone's thinking. Just feel free to comment on it, and we can add and delete. And then obviously it relies on everyone in the community to kind of add. All I'm doing is compiling it and synthesizing it into a digestible, readable 3-page document that I want
Right.
to expand on with everyone's help, so we can have really well tested and have every feature built into this thing. That'd be so cool, so cool.
It
And
would
like I
be.
said, imagine Hex is the underlying, and T shares become the Bitcoin replacement, and then everything
Right.
is traded against Hex. It'd be nuts.
Right. Yeah, because
It'd be
that's the
nuts.
thing, right? That's an actual store of value. That's an actual pricing mechanism, right? That exists. Right. And that's the thing. Like the scarcity is forever implied and it's never ending. It's completely indifferent, right, to time. Like it's always ongoing. And that's the thing, like, I want to highlight. Like, Bitcoin doesn't have that. Bitcoin is not, it
talk about
doesn't.
correlation here too, because that's an important last piece here to tie in.
Oh, you know what? Yeah, you know what? I never got to the correlation charts, and let me just touch on those before we actually close out, because I just want to highlight that there's still zero for both Bitcoin and Ethereum versus Hex. The correlation is still zero. And why is that important? That's important because what that gives us is a path forward, right, while everybody else is going sideways, or a path sideways while everybody else is going down. And that's kind of what I want everybody to understand, because it's very important. It's you know, the beauty behind Hex really that you don't see, because while the market is puking, you know, nobody's thinking there's going to be any green, and there goes Hex, right? And we've already seen it.
Opposite.
Yeah,
By
we've
the way,
already
I've noticed
seen
that
it.
the pumps have been 15 to 20% pumps, and then it waits for the tick over to the next 24-hour window, and then it does it again for another 15 to 20, which
Yep.
helps defeat against bots, because bots will come in on stuff that's over 25% pulled up. You know, it's like the strategy behind how the Hex price is moving right now is beyond what everyone I think sees on. I shouldn't speak for everybody. I'm just saying what I see in the chart is very strategic price movements right now.
Right.
Here's that.
I
Copy
agree.
that link, and you can check that document out and comment on it.
I agree. Yeah, actually, let me hold on, because I don't even have the thing open. Give me a second. Did you put it in the chat or no?
I put it on the YouTube chat. I'll put it on the private chat too.
Hold on, because I don't see it. What the hell is it? Maybe I'm just, hold on, because I got the chat. Yeah, I don't see it. Why I don't see the link in the chat.
Maybe links don't show up in the chat. Is there a way to do that? Anybody know?
No, they should
I put it in
show
the
up.
private chat.
I'll put it in the description. Just send it to me and I'll put it in the description. So in the description, guys, I'm actually putting stuff now. I got my Staker app referral link if anybody is interested in downloading the Staker app and they're new to Hex. This is not for Hexicans. You guys already have it. Just check out my referral link. It's income.watch. Just take that, throw it in your browser. It'll take you right to the download page for Staker app. And I also put referral link for 1inch exchange, 1inch.exchange. And the reason I did is because it's a pretty decent exchange. And I'll do a stream at one point about how I go about acquiring coins, just so you guys can see how I do it. And it's kind of straightforward. It's not anything like trickster like. It's just, you know, about being diligent about the process, like always, right? It's just about doing your homework and understanding what you're doing. So again, I have those items in the description. And thank you guys, as always, for being a part of the chat. And I look forward to streaming again on Friday and talking about markets. And that's going to be a very market-focused chat on Friday. So hopefully you guys tune in, and you know, we just have another good show. And thanks, guys. Have a good night.